Hello guys, welcome to my channel. As you can see in the picture today, we will start the story part 2 of what if Naruto got Kaguya as his stepmom, and got harem with her. To think the boss would allow this, Derry says. Perhaps it is because my father is Minato Namikaze. Naruto comments, shocking the 4 Kumo ninja. You're the all flashes son, Yujito says. Naruto unzips his frock coat and hands it to Kushina, unfortunately, but he fears me instead of caring for me, he says. Ready little 9B shouts. Naruto pops his joints with a roll of his neck as everyone moves back, while B starts writing in a small notebook, but puts it away and tosses his 7 swords into the air. B allows the swords to fall, and he holds the 7 blades in between his left armpit, both elbows, right leg, stomach, the right side of his neck, and in his mouth. 7 swords, Naruto thought, bring out vortex pain. He manifested a sword from thin air, Samui says. The summon, Yujito questions. More along the lines of a bloodline, Kushina says. Music, Naruto asks color B theme. The small standoff starts as Naruto shifts into a Gatatsu stance as B stands motionless, but the Hachibi host leaps into a front spin, as Naruto parries his furious strikes. He parries and counters, but B's moves are nonsensical with no discernible pattern. B dances around with multiple strikes from his swords, and manages to send Naruto flying with a mule kick. He launches after Naruto with a furious rush of strikes as the blonde lands, but he has to sidestep and dodge B's swords as he lands, picking them up as he goes. Naruto continues to try and force his way through B's defense, but the Kumo ninja parries each attack, cutting Naruto in various places on his body. He's good with 7 swords, Vildora comments, as Naruto skids to a halt and shoots forward with a stinger, but B dodges. Naruto narrowly dodges B's downward boot, and manages to get his sword up to block the downward sword strike, but it leaves him open for B to send him crashing to the ground with several rolls, losing vortex pain in the process. I'm impressed he's lasted this long with against B's 7 sword style, Yujito comments. What is up with his moves? I can even predict where he's going to strike, Kushina says. That's what makes Lord B dangerous, Derry says, but his eyes widen, as Naruto weaves signs and links his hands together. Ranton laser circus, Naruto shouts, firing several light blue lasers. He's nosed the Ranton, she says. I see. So that's another reason he came to Kumo. As we are known for our Ranton users, Yujito says. How can he know the Ranton, Samui says, seeing B dodge Naruto's attack. Jinchuriki can gain a pseudo-keke genkai from their Biju. You've seen my flames, Yujito says, and Samui nods. Well, the Kyuubi is known as the Storm Dragon. So he's gained the Storm Release, Yujito explains. Naruto rushes forward and brings out Vortex Gaze as he channels Raiden through the sword, but B smirks as he channels Raiden as well. Their blades meet as Naruto fails to overpower B, float like butterfly, B says, raising his right arm and leg. B parries Naruto's blade and skewers the blonde with 5 of his blades, stinging like a killer, B says, to Kushina and the others' shock. Naruto, they shout, as Naruto crashes to the ground and B rushes him. However, the Hachibi Jinchuriki halts in his tracks as this time it is the Kumo group in shock, as 20 blades were pointed at B. Whoa little 9. No need turn me into a porcupine, B says. Song and U umlaut o akido umlaut I grav macron. Naruto has his right hand raised with one eye open due to the pain and his breath heavy, but falls on his back, as his swords fade into dust. Kushina and the other rush to Naruto's side to pull the swords as Kaguya starts to heal him. Little 9 really did shine, B says, but sees Kushina glaring at him, causing him to back off. Yujito stares at the young blonde in thought, but was impressed with the skills he showed. He can become quite the ninja, she thought. Naruto slowly gets to his feet with a groan. I can see why you were contemporary to my father, he says. The old Flash is a powerful guy and makes his opponents cry, B says. So will you teach me to fully use Vildora's chakra, Naruto says. One spar with B doesn't mean we'll teach you. You have to earn it, Yujito says, and Naruto narrows his eyes. 6 months would pass before Naruto would be allowed to even attempt to become a perfect Jinchuriki. Naruto and company were allowed to remain in Kumagakure, but they would have to perform missions for A in exchange. The missions were not diabolical, but tests to see Naruto's skills in action, from fighting the Singnin, bandits and even sneaking into other countries. Naruto and company would spar or train with Derry, Yujito, Samui and B, with the blondes getting to know one another. Samui is the adopted sister of Yujito, and possesses a mutation of the Raiden affinity, which produces white lightning, and compared to Derry's black lightning is faster. What neither knew is that Yujito is pushing her adopted sister towards Naruto and his group, as she feels that certain elements in Kumo would use Samui for dark purposes. Naruto's natural charisma drew in Samui, and they became fast friends, something Kushina and her fellow girls noticed, but like Conan, let Samui into their circle. Speaking of Conan, the origami user would confess on Naruto's 14th birthday that she had feelings for him, something Naruto accepted, and Kushina said his harem was growing. This would spur Samui to do the same about 2 months later, declaring she had feelings for him, and wanted to explore those feelings. Again, Naruto accepted or had no choice, and despite the group growing to 5, he was attentive to their various needs, something each girl appreciated and were attentive to his needs as well. During their various missions, the group continued with the names Naruto came up with in Hot Water Country, with Samui getting the name Joker, and her coming up with the name of their group being the Vortex Royals. Soon the day would come when B declared Naruto was ready to venture to Turtle Island and become a perfect Jinchuriki. Genbu or Turtle Island. So what's Turtle Island? Naruto says, standing the deck of a boat with Kushina. Yujiro stands with her arms folded as B is scribbling in his notebook, but it is their guide Modoi who answers. Genbu serves as Lord B's personal training ground and place where he and Lady Yujiro train to become perfect Jinchuriki. Modoi says. He has dark brown, spiky hair and dark eyes with dark green mark that runs down the bridge of his nose, wearing the standard Kumo attire, and adds a gray scarf. Naruto looks out the ocean as the boat continues on through heavy mist. So Genbu is a giant turtle, he asks. He's wearing black pants with gold trim with boots, a form-fitting long-sleeve shirt with no right sleeve, and the left sleeve having an attached glove, and a sleeveless hoodie also with gold trim. Yes. Genbu has been in the care of Kumagakure since its creation, and he allows certain shinobi to train on his back, Yujiro says, and glances to B. There are also many dangerous animals as well, but B has tamed them, she adds. How dangerous? Kushina asks, wearing a similar outfit to Naruto, but has two fingerless gloves. Genbu head. Prepare your head, B shouts. Naruto and Kushina focus their attention as spikes start to appear from the mist, but the blonde sees numerous skulls, corpses as a bellowing noise echoes. Wow, Kushina says. Looks like lovely place, Naruto says, looking away and making a face. The group soon make their way onto Genbu's shell, and Naruto sees there is forest on the supermassive turtle's back. A large gorilla with several scars tried to impede their way, but B calms him down, and he lets them pass. I see what you mean by B taming the animals, Kushina says. Indeed. Lord B stands atop the hierarchy of the wildlife, Modoi comments. The gorilla named King lets them pass, and they continue on until they reach a large building in the shape of a muscular Ashioni with 4 long horns on its head. PFTTT. Ha ha ha, Voldora cries, seeing the building, but Naruto says nothing as Modoi leads them inside. This will be a room, Modoi says, pointing to the door on the 3rd floor. So when do we start training? Naruto says. If you wish to start now. We can, Yujiro says, glancing to see B strolling off to do who knows what. That's fine, Naruto says. Then put your things away and I'll take you to where Lord B trained, Modoi says. Naruto and Kushina enters the room and put their backpacks away to follow Modoi, but also Yujiro as she drags B along. They leave the Ashioni-themed building and pass through the forest with B greeting several large animals like an armadillo, wolves, large bears and an anteater. The 5 soon reach a waterfall with a pool of water and a small piece of land in the center. This is the waterfall of truth, and it is the first step in fully controlling a Biju, Modoi says. I did the same to control Matatabi's chakra. Sit there and close your eyes, Yujiro says. Then the truth will be revealed to you. Bakayam Kanoyam B says. The waterfall will reveal your true self, Modoi adds. Naruto stares at the waterfall, but then to the small piece of land, and slowly nods as he walks on the water towards the land. He slowly takes a seat and crosses his legs as he closes his eyes to focus. Before long the blonde hears sniffling and crying. But I want to stay with you. I'll be a good boy. Please let me stay. Why would Dad send me away? I'm not a bad boy, a voice says. Naruto slowly opens his eyes as the area is misty, but his eyes widen as a small figure emerges from the waterfall. Why would Dad send me away? The little figure says, but Naruto recognizes him immediately as himself at 5. It seems my true self is the me from then. Wondering why my dad decided to push me away, Naruto says. Little Naruto continues to sniffle and cry as Naruto sees his eyes were puffy, but also bloodshot from his crying. I remember crying myself to sleep that day. How can a father break his son's heart in such a manner, Naruto says, as little Naruto continues to cry and mumble the same thing. Because he's a coward, Voldora says, and Naruto grips his knees. He chose the many over his family. His own son. He chose preconceived notions over his son, Voldora adds. Little Naruto is now inches from Naruto with tears in his big blue eyes, while his little self says as Azure Blue stares into Azure Blue. You're right. To him I was just a kid from his dead fiancé. He moved on from mom with ease. All to remain Hokage, Naruto says, and pulls his younger self into his chest. Desu wait, Minato Namikaze. I'll show you. Sursei. Azula and Asuka how strong I am. I'll be someone you can't ignore, Naruto says, and his younger self stops sniffling and crying as he fades away. Naruto slowly opens his eyes and rises to his feet as B approaches. Shall we control the Kyuubi's power now? B says, and Naruto nods. B leads them through the waterfall to reveal a temple with engraving and murals of the Nibi and Hachibi with headless bodhisattva-like sculptures. These are past Jinchuriki who failed to pass, B says. For real, Kushina says. Stop joking. They're simply broken, Yujiro says, and B chuckles. He leads to a sculpture of the Matatabi's head. Only the chosen can pass through. Stick your head inside and be judged, B says. Naruto looks between B, Kushina and Yujiro, but slowly approaches to kneel, before sticking his head inside to see a small switch, and he pushes. The wall groans, and the door slowly opens to a myriad of colors. Go inside and do exactly like you did at the waterfall of truth, Yujiro says, as the 4 enter. What sort of seal was used to seal the Kyuubi? B asks. The tetragram seal, Kushina replies. That is a seal more solid than minor B seal. Does it need a key? Yujiro asks, but Naruto shakes his head. The seal filters Vildora's chakra into mine own. Because of this my chakra grows with each passing year, Naruto says. Then that makes things easier, B says, as the door closes and he takes a seat. Yujiro and Kushina stands off to the side as Naruto takes a seat as B holds out his fist. Grab the Kyuubi's chakra with your own chakra. Take his chakra and become number one. We, B says. Music fairy tale Lost Dragon Raid. Naruto enters his mindscape and stares at the purple lake which has grown over the years, before making his way towards Vildora's chamber. The dragon is waiting for the blonde with a gleam in his eye. We don't have to fight for you to gain my chakra. Because we're friends, Vildora says, holding out one of his claws. Naruto smiles and holds out his fist to touch the dragon's claw. Best friends, he says, causing a glowing effect. Outside, Yujiro's eyes whiten slightly as she sees black steel scales forming on Naruto's bare right arm, and Kushina prepares her chains in case. Seems Vildora has formed a connection with young Naruto, Matatabi says. It would seem so, Yujiro thought. The scales move down the arm, and she sees it slowly creep up Naruto's neck to his face and over his closed eyes. The chakra cloak forms next with 3 tails of red chakra, slowly 4 then 5, and last 6 tails were now visible. Yujiro could see that Naruto was now struggling. He's still too young to bring all of Vildora's chakra, but to get to 6 tails at his age, she thought. That's enough, little 9. No need to bring all 9, B says, as red orange tails emerge from his body to ensnare Naruto, as his eyes open to reveal reptilian azure blue eyes. Naruto releases a slow breath as his draconic features slowly fade. So what happens now, he says. We go to the shared mindscape, B says, beckoning for Yujiro. Won't take long, little red, B says. Yujiro sits next to Naruto as B holds out both his fist, and both bump fists with him. Naruto gasps as he finds himself in a large expanse with an orange hue to the ground. Where are we, he says. It's a place where we Biju can meet but rarely, Vildora says. The massive dragon is standing behind him, but leans down to let Naruto onto his snout. Matatabi and Jayuki should arrive soon, Vildora says. Soon Naruto sees 2 large animals slowly appearing with B and Yujiro. One is a large Bakeneko with 2 tails, but completely engulfed in cobalt blue and black flames, like Akasha, but the flames are more animated. It also has heterochromatic eyes, the right being yellow and the left being green, similar to an odd cat without pupils. The other is an Ushioni with 4 long horns on its head, but one of the lower horns is missing, a muscular upper body structure, with a hunched back and spiked protrusions on the elbows, and hands with opposable thumbs. Instead of hind legs, its lower half consists of its 8 tails, which resemble the cephalopod arms of an octopus. Meet Matatabi and Jayuki, Vildora says. Greetings, Naruto knocks fluid, Matatabi says with Yujiro on her head. Jayuki stares but sighs with B on his head wrapping, but he flicks him off. So you were finally sealed away, Jayuki says, his tone serious. I was under the control of a man with a Sharingan and his mother sealed inside him to keep from killing more people, Vildora comments. I thought the Uchiha were loyal to Konohagakure, Yujiro says. Perhaps it was a Rouge Uchiha or someone who came into possession of a Sharingan, Naruto comments. HMPH. You were weak enough to get controlled. Now you know what the rest of us felt, Jayuki says. You want to dance, calamari, Vildora says, before a large puff of smoke erupts and Naruto crashes to the ground. Vildora emerges from the smoke in a human of a tan-skinned man with blonde hair, wearing black pants and knee-high boots with a black cape. HMPH. I'll beat you this time, Jayuki says, doing the same as Vildora. His human form resembles B but has 2 long horns, dark skin with a black striped pants having a gray stripe. A form-fitting tank top of a dark color and a bomber jacket tied around his waist. Don't start fighting, you two, Matatabi shouts, as Yujiro leaps down to check on Naruto, as Matatabi takes a human form as well. She is a young-looking woman in her 20s with cobalt and black hair, wearing a white and blue sweater dress with black tights. Biju can take human forms, Naruto says, rubbing his head. The mindscape is suddenly rocked by rumbling and explosions as the older brothers did battle, yes. Now let's put some distance from that, Matatabi says, as Yujiro sees B trying to get involved and sighs as she follows Naruto and her Biju. Naruto sidesteps the right hook of his clone and ducks up the spinning roundhouse of his second clone, then leaps to dodge the sweeping low kick of a third clone. It's been 3 months since he went to Turtle Island and faced the training B showed him to better use Vildora's chakra. Also learning Biju have human forms and the history of Biju and the creator Hagoromo Otsutsuki as well. Kagaya's last name sounds similar to Hagoromo, Naruto thought. Maybe she's a descendant, Vildora comments, and Naruto mentally nods, but this provides an opening for his clones. One kicks Naruto from behind into the inevitable punch of another clone. The second clone grabs Naruto by the wrist, swinging him into a heavy kick of a clone, sending the blonde flying into a few rolls. Sorry, Vildora says. Naruto pops up charging the duo as he catches one clone with a skidding left fist, dispelling the clone and leaps backwards and catches the other with back kick. Naruto rushes the final clone flurry of punches and kicks, culminating into a stiff kick to double it over, and finally a heavy powerbomb to dispel it. Incorporating some of Lord A's moves, Samui says, standing on the steps. Naruto rolls his neck and wipes a smudge of dirt on his cheek, a little. Something happened, he asks. Lord A has mission for me, and I want your help, Samui replies, and Naruto arches an eyebrow. What sort of help, Naruto asks. Samui folds her arms under her burgeoning bosom with a sigh. I want to get a special weapon made, and I need to head to the land of bears, she says. Naruto slowly dusts himself off as Samui approaches. A meteor crashed there about 200 years ago, and there are several mines that sell the ore from it, she says. Must be pretty large to mine even after so many years, Naruto says. Yes. However, there is an issue. The village of Ashikaga sells the ore, but they are surrounded by a canyon that spews noxious fumes, Samui says, as they head for the steps and make their way up. Why go through the trouble of going if the risk is high, Naruto asks. The ore from the meteor makes powerful weapons, or so I've read. I need a special sword to conduct my raiden, and metal from a falling star would be pretty powerful, Samui replies. Are the others coming with us, Naruto asks, but Samui shakes her head and Naruto sighs. Let me guess. Kushina said, and I quote. Use this chance to get to know Naruto better, he says, and Samui blushes a little. Considered. You escorting me to a foreign country under the guise of Vortex Heart, Samui says, and Naruto ruffles his hair with a chuckle. Sure, Joker, Naruto muses, and Samui giggles softly. Naruto and Samui return to the former's temporary residence to clean up and pack for their journey to Ashikaga, like he thought this was planned by his fellow royals to allow Samui some alone time with Naruto. About 2 hours later, Naruto is standing at the main gate of Kamagakure in his Kingsglaive outfit. I think I'll change my outfit, Naruto thought. Then he thought, Sildor says, as Naruto cups his chin, thought, and leans on his regalia. Something similar but different. I'll check some clothing shops on the journey, Naruto thought, seeing Samui approaching. She is wearing a long-sleeved black-purple blouse, black shorts with black tights, Kuma-style shin guards and sandals. Is this your regalia that Kushina told me about, Samui says, and Naruto nods, storing her gear under the seat. Naruto hops on and Samui does the same, but sitting a little above him as he hands her some goggles to keep the wind out of her eyes. The others said their goodbyes, Naruto asks. They did, and they said separate beds, Samui says, and Naruto blushes a bit, but shakes his head, starting up his bike and riding off as Samui holds on. They head south towards the border of Frost Country and head west skirting Hotwater Country. This dredges up memories of his issues with the residents of a certain town. They would stop at a hot spring resort near the border of the country and the land of rice paddies, or as some of the people now called the land of sound. They encountered several missing men attempting to kidnap them for their mysterious leader, but Samui tested some Harem on them. They left the land of sound fairly quickly and had to switch to running as they passed through a heavily forested area in the north of Taki. Towns were sparse, so the pair had to camp under the stars a few times until they reached the border. They soon reached the land of bears, but in the first town they stopped in, were indeed informed they would need gas masks to reach Ashikaga, as they would have to pass through a ravine Samui mentioned. U o akuto I grovmakrin. Samui stares in horror as she sees the rotting corpses of animals in the ravine. As they ride along the ravine, the meteor crash must have been the cause of the gas. Even the land near the mines barely has any life, she says. Naruto notices this as well, that even though the country was heavily forested, the closer they got to Ashikaga the flora and fauna seemed less and less. The canyon they were passing over provided the perfect barrier, as without a mask, the gas would kill you in minutes. Why would your cool beauty choose this place for Chakra Metal, Vildor comments, and Naruto mentally shrugs, but halts his bike as 3 arrows barred their path. A figure appears with a full face mask over their face, wearing blue and dark gray outfit with a light purple scarf, arm-length gloves and calf-length boots. State your business, the figure says. We're here to purchase a meteor ore, Samui says. Follow me, the figure says, and Naruto follows on his bike alongside the figure. The village of Ashikaga is about 15 miles from the ravine, with several mines surrounding it, the trees of the forest serving as a secondary barrier. You could probably circumvent this country in hours, Naruto thought, as they pass the village walls and brings his bike to a halt. The figure removes their hooded mask to reveal reddish brown eyes and long smooth black hair in a braided ponytail. His bangs partly curl around his head. I'm Sumeru and I'll take you to Lord Akahashi, but what is it, the figure asks, as Naruto and Samui remove their masks. It's known as a regalia. It's from the south in Niflheim, Naruto says, and raises his right hand with the incantation, causing the bike to break into crystalline dust. We have visitors, Sumeru voice says, and the three see a man approaching. He has a pale tone, a thin and bony face, blue eyes and a narrow nose with lilac hair in a ponytail. He wears a teal robe with red trim, light color pants with dark knee pads, matching gloves and boots, with a high-colored dark color haori having light color trim. I am Akahashi and I am the deputy Hashikage, the man says. I am Samui and this is hard. I am here to purchase about 10 pounds of meteor ore, Samui says, and Akahashi narrows his eyes. I see. Follow me and we'll speak more at length, Sumeru. Return to your training, Akahashi says, looking to the young man. Sumeru bows at the waist as Naruto and Samui follow Akahashi to a 3-story mansion with a sign having the kanji for star. However, both notice that there weren't many people in the village itself. Why have you come to our small country for our precious ore? Akahashi says, once they were inside and in the meeting area. Well, Samui starts, but Naruto interrupts her. He said Deputy Hashikage. Naruto asks. Yes. The Sandaime Hashikage passed away last year, and there is no Hashikage at moment. Akahashi replies, and looks to Samui for her to continue. Well, sir. I possess a mutation of the Raiden affinity, and I wish to have a sword capable of channeling it. Normal swords shatter after a few uses, and I believe your meteor ore may have enough tolerance for my Raiden. Samui explains. I see. Not many would travel to this small country for our meteor ore. Akahashi says. I read stories about the meteor that fell here, and that Hashikage sprang up from its crater. Though we did see the canyon. Samui says. Akahashi rubs his right leg with a slow nod. Indeed. It encircles Hashikage and serves as a perfect barrier. I doubt any of the major nations would dare attempt to attack our country, he says, something Naruto logs in the back of his mind. How much would you sell the ore for? I would like to purchase enough to forge 2 daisho sword sets or 10 pounds, Samui says, and pulls out a scroll. She slowly unfurls the scroll to show a kanji with a black circle, and she places her hands outside the circle to channel her chakra, releasing 3 gold bars about 3 inches wide and 6 inches long. This should cover things, but I do have more in case, Samui says. Akahashi stares at the 3 gold bars, but keeps his face blank. It will take a few days to gather the amount you want, he says. That is fine, but we need to begin our journey back within the week, Samui says, and Akahashi slowly nods, before calling for 2 of his men to escort the pair to a room. The room is fairly comfortable but only has 1 bed and a sofa. You can have the bed, Naruto says, unsealing his things. Sorry, Samui says, unsealing her things. Naruto starts weaving signs as he approaches the door and places his right hand as a sealing array forms. So what's the real reason for you heading all the way here? Speak freely. This seal will keep others from knowing, Naruto says, slipping off his frock coat. Samui softly sighs and sits on the bed. The ore, but also a woman named Natsuhi wants to save her home, she says, and clears her throat. Hashikage does sell the ore from the meteorite, but they keep a piece for themselves for some sort of training. Natsuhi wasn't forthcoming on that, but the training was supposed to be outlawed by the Sandaime, Samui says. Now that he's dead. She fears this, Akahashi, Naruto says, and Samui slowly nods. Where is Natsuhi now, he adds, unlacing his boots. She's in a hideout outside the village with many others who escaped, Samui says, and Naruto sighs, slipping off his right boot. This feels like it is going to be like that town in hot water, Naruto says, slipping his left boot. What town? Is that what you were agitated about in staying in a hot spring town? Samui says, and Naruto nods. Yeah. It was before we came to Kumo. The town seemed normal on the surface, but there was a Jashin cult in the town, and were sacrificing people who traveled through. Then the cult would give their wares to the townspeople who turned a blind eye for the riches. We killed the cult members, and I sent letters to other towns, outing the villagers on the actions, Naruto explains. Do you think the same thing is happening here? Samui asks, taking a seat next to him. As Akahashi seems off, Naruto says. We'll need to find a way to meet with Natsuhi and coordinate our actions, Samui says. Do you know the location of the hideout? Naruto asks, and Samui nods. Then I may have a way, he says. About 3 hours after sunset, Naruto and Samui slip out of their room with Naruto using 2 cage bunshin, one hinged as Samui, as the real pair were under invisibility spell to leave the village. He follows Samui through the forest to Natsuhi's hideout. Magic is pretty amazing, Samui says. It can be, and it can be dangerous too, Naruto says. The new moon masks their presence as Naruto follows Samui towards the northern border of the country. Isn't she worried Akahashi could finding their base? Naruto says. They must be hidden well, Samui says. They soon start to see the trees lessen and look more charred as rock formations jut out of the ground. This way, Samui says, pointing towards a formation similar to a star. Suddenly both halt in their tracks as several arrows strike the ground. Who are you? A voice echoes. Naruto sees a figure standing on the star rock with a crossbow, and wearing a full mask over their face, wearing a blue flak and light color shorts. We were sent by Lord A. We're here to see Natsuhi, Samui declares. The figure leaps down and slowly removes their mask, revealing jade green eyes and long violet hair. Prove it, the woman says. Samui reaches into her pouch and pulls a scroll with a seal of approval, before slowly handing it to the woman before them, as Naruto shifts his eyes from left to right. I am Natsuhi. Follow me, the woman says, after reading the scroll. Naruto and Samui follow Natsuhi up to the large stone as she weaves signs, causing the stone to move to reveal the opening, and the 3 leap inside to reveal the underground hideaway. He sees several people look over others as Natsuhi leads to another area. Are you all Orde could send, Natsuhi says, without raising suspicions. Yes, as both of us artificial ninja of Kumagakure, Samui says, causing Natsuhi to frown, but she knew the major nations wouldn't risk things for such a small nation. Then I have to work with this. Have you met with Akahashi? Natsuhi says, disgust for the man evident. We did, and he thinks we're here for the meteor organ. Which is partially truth, Samui says. Samui tells me you want to stop some sort of training, Naruto says, and Natsuhi narrows her eyes and clenches her left fist. During the reign of the Nidaime Hashikage. Miners found the core of the star Natsuhi starts, and thinks of her husband Hot Ruby. The core gives off a form of chakra radiation that enhances one's chakra levels. It is the core of the mysterious peacock method, but the same techniques cause extensive damage to the body, she adds. Why use such technique, Naruto says. The Nidaime Hashikage wished to be seen on the same level of the 5 Kage, but the training was detrimental to our shinobi. The Sandaime finally banned the star training after many died, including my husband Natsuhi explains, and her eyes flicker. However, now that the Sandaime is dead, Akahashi wishes to revive it, she adds. So you contacted Lord A for aid, Samui says, and Natsuhi nods. I did. I have evidence that Akahashi killed the Sandaime but enslaves the people in the mine. He has them believing there may be other pieces of the star, Natsuhi says and looks down. I worry for my son Sumeru, she adds, shocking both. I have question. Why did you leave your son in the village if the star training's so bad, Naruto says, but Natsuhi remains silent for a few moments. We made a foolish mistake when Sumeru was very young. Hot Ruby and I attempted to steal the star after seeing the deadly side effects, but we were caught by the Sandaime and his Anbu. We pleaded with him about the effects of the core, and he believed us. However, we needed to disappear in case the militant members of the village attempted to restart the training. So we faked our deaths, and he ordered us to watch the village from afar, but Hot Ruby died from the side effect a few years ago, Natsuhi explains. What about you, Naruto asks. I didn't suffer the side effects. Other than my hair turning this color, but no other effects, Natsuhi says. How do you want to handle things? Do you know the strength of Akahashi's forces, Samui asks. Our ninja forces have dwindled due to the star training, but from our people, we know he has at least a dozen Chunin and Jonin at the ready, but only 2 have this star training. Sumeru and the other genin are still in training, Natsuhi replies. Naruto runs his fingers through his blonde hair and thought of how to handle things. How do you wish to deal with Akahashi, he asks. The day after tomorrow I will attempt to steal the star, and will use Fuinjutsu to destroy it, Natsuhi replies. What about the mine, Samui asks. I leave that the 2 of you. He keeps his force light around it. So it should be enough, Natsuhi says, and Naruto silently sighs, getting to his feet. We should head back and I'll scout the mine tomorrow. We may be able to coordinate with your attempt on this star, Naruto says. I pray to the gods that we succeed, Natsuhi says, and both bow a bit to her, before excusing themselves. Naruto and Samui leave the hidden base to make their way back to Hashigakure, as Naruto uses his invisibility spell to hide them again. Can the 2 of us handle this, Samui says. We can. Otherwise Lord A would have sent someone else, Naruto says. They soon reach the village gate and make their way back to the Hashikage's mansion, slipping into the room, but notice some of their items were disturbed. Looks like Akahashi doesn't trust us, Naruto says, as both clones dispel to reveal 2 Akahashi's men named Yutaka and Shiso were going through their things. That's some rest. I'll start scouting the mine and take a tour of the village, Naruto says, and Samui slowly nods, as they check their things to see if anything is missing, but nothing was. Naruto stays up for another hour and creates some clones to start scouting the village and the mine. Luckily you didn't have anything to show where exactly you're from, Valdorus says, as Naruto lays down on the sofa. We're not official ninja, and Samui kept the seal on her person, Naruto thought, before drifting off to sleep. The next day comes and the pair were brought breakfast, about 8 of berries, toast, jam and juice. I'll speak with Akahashi about the ore, Samui says. I'll try to follow the genin to see the star if possible, Naruto says, as the pair finish their breakfast and get dressed for the day. The pair separate and Naruto attempts to find the genin, finding Sumeru heading outside the village and the blonde follows, but Sumeru doesn't attempt to stop him. The forest gives way to a large crater with nothing but charred trees and next to no life. At the center of the crater were several buildings that Sumeru is heading towards, but stops to look back at Naruto. Why are you following me, Sumeru says. I was curious about the crater. What's that building down there, Naruto says, and Sumeru narrows his eyes. It is our training area. Visitors are not allowed, but you can go to a resting area, Sumeru says, pointing to the building in a shape, as he continues on to the training room. Very narrow-minded thought process, Valdora comments. Naruto sighs and looks up to the cloudless sky, but groans as a clone dispels. The mines aren't deplorable, but they need to be wary of poison gas, he thought, continuing down the incline. He reaches the building and knocks upon the door, but slides it open, as no one comes to open it. Hello, Naruto says, but hears soft coughing. He enters the room and sees a few futons, as at the opposite end is a lump. Hello, Naruto says, again. Who are you, another says, and Naruto looks back to see a young girl, before she sends a light pink robe towards him, but he uses his armature to her shock. Easy. I heard him coughing and wanted to see if he's okay, Naruto says, sword surrounding him. She dispels the pink robe and slowly enters with her indigo eyes filled with suspicion, and wearing light pink blouse with a turquoise red patterned dress over it, and light pink chaps along with brown sandals. Are you a visitor, the girl says, and Naruto nods. My name is Hart and I'm here with a friend to buy some meteor organ. The deputy Hashikage allowed me to explore. I apologize for entering without permission, Naruto says. My name is Akuto, and that is Mizuru, the girl says, as she goes to help her friend. He has medium-length dull purple hair, dull purple thick bushy eyebrows, and has large brown pupilless eyes. He wears a tan kimono jacket with navy blue trimmings, but Naruto sees is quite frail and sickly. Your friend is sick, Naruto says. Kakuto helps Mizuru sit up and gets him some water. It's for the sake of our training, he says. Training that makes you sick. Isn't training, Naruto says. You don't understand. The star training is making us strong. So strong the great nations will fear us, Sumeru says, standing in the doorway. The star training is that powerful. So powerful it will make the 5 great nations tremble, Naruto says, listening to Mizuru cough as Sumeru glares at the blonde. It will, Sumeru says. Naruto shakes his head with a sigh and yields to Mizuru. I know a little about healing. May I try, Naruto says. Can you help, Kakuto says. Naruto pulls the sheet away to see more Mizuru's frail body, as he opens his top to see his ribs, but purple flame-like marks on his body. Is this because of the star training, Naruto says, but Hakuto remains quiet. He places his left hand on Mizuru. I can't do much, but I can relieve some of his pain, heal, Naruto says, as his hand glows a light blue. Hakuto gasps as Mizuru's pained face slowly relaxes a little. Thank you, he says. Sumeru. If your star training is the result of Mizuru's suffering, then it won't help in the long run, Naruto says, rising to his feet. What do you know, outsider? Sumeru snaps and Naruto shrugs. You're right, I don't, but I've seen people kill themselves for a cause that may not be right, Naruto says, walking past him. He may try to kill his own mother, Valdora says, as Naruto walks up and out of the crater. He believes in his Shigakure's supremacy. Only a few have the star training, and I don't believe that can help against Jinchuriki, Naruto thought. He makes his way back to the village as Bren lands on his shoulder. The children stay in the room for hours with this star, she says. My clones have checked the mines, and they seem to be searching for more pieces of the core to have more to use, Naruto says, keeping his eyes out for people. When will things happen, Bren asks. The day after tomorrow, but she may up the timetable, Naruto says, as Bren dispels, and he picks up his speed back to the village. Most of the townspeople must work in the mines, Valdora says, as Naruto passes through the gate. It's not a large village, and because it is sprung from crash site. Farming is out, and I guess the mines keep the village afloat, Naruto thought, reaching the Hashikage's mansion. He makes it to his shared room and finds Samui already there. Any issues, Naruto asks, after putting the seal back up. He's stalling. He may believe Natsuhi has sent us as a distraction. He said he'll have the ore the day after tomorrow, Samui says. Naruto cups his chin in thought with a sigh. He may have put a mole in her group. So I have an idea to move things along, he says, and Samui arches an eyebrow. I'm going to steal the star tonight and draw Akahashi to me, or rather a clone will, Naruto says. What about Natsuhi, Samui asks. I'll send Bren to tell her. We'll bring them all together and expose Akahashi, Naruto explains, and Samui slowly nods, as he explains more of his plan. The rest of the day is rather uneventful, but it is after sunset when the fireworks begin as Naruto and Samui were awakened by heavy knocking. Ms. Samui. Mr. Hart. We need your help. Someone is attempting to steal the ore set aside for you, Shiso says. He has long chin-length black hair and dark eyes, wearing a purple headade and a blue-purple flak jacket, with a black long-sleeve shirt underneath it, and black shorts. Who would do such a thing, Samui says. We don't know, but can one of you help us, Yutaka says. He has thick black eyebrows and dark eyes with a bald having a purple headade. He wears a purple-blue flak jacket, a black shirt under his flak jacket, and short black arm sleeves on his lower arms with black pants having knee guards. I will go with them. You speak to Lord Akahashi, Naruto says, getting dressed, and Samui does the same. The pair split up as Naruto follows Yutaka and Shiso towards the mine. Why would someone steal the ore we purchased, Naruto asks, running behind them. We do not know, but you can help us look for clues, Yutaka says, glancing to Shiso. The three reach the mine and Naruto looks, but notices that the pair have put some distance between themselves and the blonde. Is something wrong, Naruto asks. The pair slowly turn to Naruto as several other Hashi ninjas surround him. We know you're working for that traitor, Yutaka sneers. Traitor, Naruto says, looking left and right. Don't play dumb. Natsuhi sent you as a distraction as she attempts to steal the star, Shiso says. The tension starts to ramp up as all pull out kunai as Naruto stays motionless, but sighs. Well, I can let Kaguya know that it works, Naruto says, and rapid weaves signs to Bird. Kill him, Yutaka shouts. Music, Naruto Shippuden As 2 Hai Haku plus Kakuten. Majin Hunter's Moon, Naruto utters, and all of them halt in their tracks, as the area turns dark, except for the red full moon in the sky. What is this, one of them says, as Yutaka and Shiso look around. Don't falter. It's simply Jinjutsu, Yutaka shouts. Ominous giggling echoes around them as they attempt to release themselves. Well, you're half right, Naruto says, seemingly from everywhere. Suddenly a roaring echoes through them to induce panic in the weaker members of the group. Why won't it release, another shouts, before something large crashes into him and sends him to the ground. Yutaka and the others back away with their kunai at the ready, as the thing lifts off their downed comrade, revealing a set of haunting blue eyes, and 2 rows of sharp teeth dripping with blood. What is that, another shouts but starts gurgling as his throat opens up with a spray of blood. Yutaka and others toss kunai at the tiger, but one by one their throats are torn open. Kujaku Mim Kameno Yutaka and Shiso shout, using their star chakra to create a beast that resembles a dog with golden eyes. Is that supposed to frighten me? Hahaha Naruto echoes. We're not done. Synthesis Yutaka shouts and combines his beast with Shiso's. Oh my. Quite impressive, but let me retort with this, Naruto says. Yutaka and Shiso gasp in horror as a dragon with glowing red eyes emerges from the shadows. I give you my Rantan demon dragon, Naruto says, as the dragon ensnares them to explode. The red moon fades, and the area lightens as Naruto holding the sign for horse, as his opponents were twitching on the ground from the storm clouds surrounding them. Iraimka still needs work, Voldor says. Naruto creates about a dozen clones to secure the bodies. Using it in conjunction with Hunter's moon is useful, he says. Indeed. Now why don't we bring down the final curtain, Voldor says, and Naruto nods, vanishing with Shunshin. At the same time, Samui is playing her part as Akahashi's hostage, with Nasuhi and Naruto's clone having the star. Hand over the star, the girl dies, Akahashi shouts. How can you allow such a barbaric practice? Continue, Natsuhi shouts, preparing to use her kimono. Because the Shigakure deserves to stand above the five great nation, but are full of a Sandame outlawed the practice, Akahashi shouts, seeing Sumeru and a few other genin. Well, the Sumeru says, his eyes wide. Sumeru. I'm sorry. However, I must stop Akahashi from gaining the star, Natashi shouts. Sumeru. Bring me the star, Akahashi shouts, sensing his chakra with Sumeru, and his eyes glow purple. Under his control, Sumeru uses his star chakra as a rope to grab the star and toss it to Akahashi. As he tosses Samui aside, Sumeru Natsuhi shouts. Now do you see, Natsuhi? Your son is mine to control, Akahashi shouts, before tearing open his shirt and digging the star into his chest. Natsuhi rushes to her son and envelopes him in her star chakra to free him of Akahashi's control. Is Naruto on his way, Samui says, reaching the clone, and it nods. Akahashi screams as he forces the star more into his chest as veins become pronounced. Now I will become the Yondaime Hashikage, he howls, his eyes glowing purple. His body seizes as the star forces chakra out his eyes and mouth. His muscles increase in mass, and he gains a mane of light pink hair. Kujaku Mimrik, Akahashi howls, creating a large Eastern-style dragon with dark yellow eyes, and a ring of red around them. Raiden Shirator, Samui shouts, holding a ram sign. A white tiger roars and slams into the star dragon, but it starts to overcome the tiger. Bantan Rankarik, Naruto shouts, appearing beside Samui and firing his red-eye dragon. Akahashi hisses in rage as his dragon is being overcome, but he forces more star chakra out, allowing it to grow wings and fire blasts of chakra. Everyone scatters as Naruto brings out Vortex Abandon to fire several shots, but the dragon shakes them off. Naruto sends Vortex Abandon away as he lands with skid. Slowly his eyes turn reptilian-like, and his muscles increase a little with steel scales forming on his cheeks. Hahaha. Time to bring out my power, Voldor crows. Akahashi sees this change in Naruto, but fires another blast of star chakra, as Naruto weaves signs to ram and inhales. Rant and roar of the storm dragon, Naruto thought, firing a laser blast of lightning from his mouth. The blast tears through the dragon, and leaves Akahashi open, as Naruto closes the gap with a stinger through the core, but also his heart. I am possible, Akahashi hisses, spitting up blood. Naruto stares with a blank look on his face. Possible, the blonde says, his teeth much sharper, and wrenches his sword free as Akahashi crashes to the ground. Song ends. U umlaut o akudo umlaut I grav makron. Naruto relaxes his body as Samui approaches. You've been holding out on me, she says. He sends Vortex Gaze away with a sigh. So have you, Naruto says, as the pair turn their attention to Natsuhi. She hugging Sumeru as the young man is softly crying. Mother Sumeru whispers and Natashi rubs his back as Samui approaches. The star core has been destroyed, Samui says. As it should have been. Thank you, and as payment. You will have your war, Natsuhi says. The fight is not over. We need to capture those loyal to Akahashi, Samui says. Natsuhi looks to her son and fellow genin. You're right, she says, leading the charge. By morning, Akahashi's followers would be captured, with Yutaka and Shiso confessing their crimes with Akahashi. Naruto and Samui would leave his Shigakure in the care of Natsuhi, who would soon become the Yondaime Hashikage. They would congratulate them on a job well done once they were back in Kumagakure, even offering some of the ore to make a weapon, but Naruto declined. Kumo's best blacksmiths would make 2 sets of swords for Samui, and Kushina added some Fuinjutsu to further strengthen the sword. Another 3 months would pass, and Naruto would decide it is time to leave Kumo to keep traveling to further their strength, but also see other countries. Naruto would pass on the information about Akatsuki to Yujito and B, but also A, allowing them to be prepared, and A agree to an alliance with Izushio. Land of Lightning, Kumagakure. I want you to take Samui with you, Yujito says, sitting across from Naruto with Samui next to her. Yujito, I want to stay and become a Kumo ninja, Samui says, rubbing a crystal necklace in her hand. Samui. There are elements in Kumo that will want to see if your Raiden would be passed on to your children. They will attempt to turn you into a broodmare and pump out children. I don't want that, Yujito says. Samui has talked about becoming a strong Kumo Kunoichi. I couldn't deprive her of that, Naruto says, and Yujito glares at him. Don't you care about her well-being, Yujito says. I do, but don't you trust Samui, Naruto says. Naruto is right, sis. I would love to travel with the other Vortex Royals, but I don't want to leave my friends. We want to become a team together with you, as our sensei Samui says, and Yujiro could see the determination in Samui's ice blue eyes. Yujiro leans back in her chair with a sigh. So will you write him letters? Well, you can't with them on the move, she says, but Samui holds up the necklace. It's a magic crystal. We can speak through it. It'll create a mini projection, and it works with chakra too. So we can speak both ways, Naruto explains. I see, so where are you heading next? Yujiro asks. We're thinking of heading further north, Kushina says, holding a big duffel bag. Be careful around Yuki though. Lord A's spies report there is despot there, Yujiro says. We'll try not to anger the despot, but knowing our luck, we might get dragged into something, Naruto says. Yujiro rises from her seat and extends her hand to Naruto. It was a pleasure to meet you, Naruto knocks florid, she says, and Naruto shakes her hand. Likewise, Yujiro nai, Naruto says. Natatabi suggested we meet in the Biju mindscape every few months. Buldora will feel the pull, Yujiro says, and Naruto slowly nods, before excusing herself. Kinda wish I had a Biju. Kushina comments, as Konan, Rebecca and Kaguya come with their bags as well. Samui rises from her seat and hugs each of the girls. I'll miss all of you, Samui says. Same here. The royals won't be the same without our joker, Rebecca says. You can still come with us, Kaguya says. I want to become a Kumo Kanoichi. But if it doesn't work out, Samui says, opening her arms to Naruto. The fellow blondes hug and Samui kisses Naruto's cheek. Next time we meet, I'll probably be a Kumo ninja, she says. And I'll probably be a Konoha one, Naruto says, getting another hug from Samui. We'll contact you in a few days, Kushina says, and Samui slowly nods, wiping a tear. Naruto and company excuse themselves to make their way towards Kumo's main gates. So where to now, Konan asks. We'll west and then north, Naruto says. They soon reach main gates of Kumo and bring out their respective regalia. Westward we go, Naruto says, slipping on his goggles and starting his bike with a surge of pink energy from the front wheel. The Vortex Royals would leave Kamagakure behind and head through the mountains towards the Land of Lightning's western border. Thanks to aid, the group were registered bounty hunters, and their names would spread to other countries. Thankfully they didn't use their real names, but their codes names. Naruto decided to further hide their anonymity by having special masks to further keep their identity a secret. They would stop in the Land of Thunder to purchase their custom masks, with each having blacked out eyes and their symbol shaped like a vortex. Once their masks were done, they would head to the Land of Glaciers, and would get snowed in at an inn for about 2 weeks, due to a freak snowstorm. Kushina would freak out, as in this inn was her favorite actress Yuki Fujika's. The young woman is a bit on the cold side, but warmed up to Kaguya because of her ears, and the actress's love of rabbits. The royals would get to know Yuki, and thanks to Kushina's motor mouth, the actress would learn they were bounty hunters and skilled ninja. This would be something that would catch the eye of Yuki's assistant Sandae-sama. After the snow was cleared, Yuki invited the group on a whale and glacier watching tour, which they agreed, and it was amazing to see as they saw several whales and icebergs. It would be at the end of this tour where Sandae would ask the royals for help, in terms of protection for Yuki as she filmed her movie. Naruto was wary and pressed Sandae, in which she revealed that Yuki is actually Koyuki Kazuhana, true ruler of the Land of Snow. Yuki would reveal that her uncle Dodo Kazuhana murdered her father in a coup, and if not for the timely intervention of Konoha Anbu, she would have died, but they refused to aid her in retaking her home. So with Sandae's help, Koyuki became an actress and trained to become strong enough to defend herself. This tugged at the heartstrings of the other royals, and Naruto found himself outvoted, so they agreed to aid Koyuki in saving her home from her uncle. Sandae revealed Dodo has special chakra armors that negates both ninjutsu and jinjutsu. Naruto informed the pair that they would find, and Koyuki revealed that Dodo is after a special necklace given to her by her father Susetsu. The two groups devised to draw close to Snow Country by using the filming of her movie. Land of Snow. Welcome back to the Land of Snow. Princess Koyuki one Roganator says. Naruto notices he resembles Akahashi with a similar haircut and eye shape, except he has small diagonal purple marks below both of his teal eyes. He wears a Hapure-style headband that frames his face, and his long purple hair is in long a ponytail running down his back, along with a long thin strand of purple hair hanging over the right side of his face. He wears a blue and white outfit with chakra armor having mesh underneath. His compatriots Mizurafai Kuma and Fubuki Kakyoku were looking down at the group from their perches on this large ice sheet. The plan Naruto and company came up with worked as it lured some of Dodo's forces to them. Diamond. Club. Take Koyuki and the others to the ship. Spade. Ace with me, Naruto thought. Be careful, heart, Koyuki shouts. She has long black hair with bangs that fall on each side of her face and violet blue eyes. She wears a green blouse over a pink jacket with brown gloves and black pants. You think you can defeat us, little one, Mizur says. He is a rather large man with a short crop of purple hair and dark eyes with small circular shaped purple eyebrows. He wears the standard uniform of a blue and white outfit with chakra armor like the others. We'll show you the power of Snow's ninja, Fubuki says. She has green eyes and pink spiky hair that sticks out of 2 holes at the top of her gray helmet, reminiscent of pigtails and small circular dark pink eyebrows, and wears the chakra armor with dark teal pants. Miser. Fubuki. Get the Princess Roga says, and all three rush forward. Naruto does the same and leaps on pieces of ice to meet Roga, while Miser uses a snowboard to move towards Koyuki. Come at me little man, Roga says. Naruto leaps at Roga as fists meet forearms, knees meet shins as both parry, and counter their strikes as they move up the glacier mountain. Miser surfs around Konan as she fires several shuriken, but they bounce of his chakra armor. Haimten Subum Fubuki shouts, firing a flurry of ice swallows. Kushina dodges, but the swallows curve around to attack her, Suit and Tepndam as she thought, firing several water bullets, but the swallows freeze the bullets, and effectively stop them. Haimon no Jutsu Fubuki shouts, slamming her hand on the ice. Several thick pieces of ice erupt as Kushina dodges, but she tosses a few explosive kunai to destroy them. That's useless, Fubuki sneers, as the ice continues to follow Kushina. Miser fires his steam-powered gauntlet at Konan, but she nimbly dodges it and him as he closes the gap. The director and his crew were filming frantically to keep up with all three fights. Suit Insurrect no Jutsu Naruto shouts, using the ocean and firing the roaring dragon, but Roga's chakra armor negates it. It's useless. Our chakra armor negates all chakra and creates a wall of chakra to negate weapons as well, Roga says, weaving signs from tiger to dog. Haimten Harakumko, Roga shouts, creating a tiger. Naruto counters with another dragon to keep up their ruse, and it freezes up due to the tearing tiger. You say it negates all chakra, but I wonder how you stand up to magic, Naruto says, pointing his hands forward. Shard buckshots, Naruto shouts, as crystal shards emerge from his hands. Roga only smirks as he believes his armor would do its job, but it vanishes as the shards cut into him as he dodges. Waddy says, I guess your armor is not as invincible as you thought, Naruto says. Kushina gasps as her leg is caught by the ice, and quickly freezes as Fubuki smirks, but the Redeed swaps with the heater. The Yuki Kunoichi gasps as Kushina appears behind her with her chainsword coming at full force, hitting her in the side and snapping her arm, so it could touch her upper. Two can't feel my legs, Fubuki thought, crashing to the ground with a few hops and coming to a halt. Fubuki Miser shouts, but halts as paper is floating around him, what he thought, as the paper were bombs. Konan focuses as most of her body has turned to paper, Katsushi says, as the bombs explode for nearly 50 seconds. The former amorphin has always been great at origami, and after so long she is now able to turn her body into paper, even creating paper wings to fly. Maybe I should change my name to Angel rather than Ace, Konan says, slowly reforming as Miser falls on his back and unmoving with most of his body severely burned. You little brat, Roga snaps and weaves signs to dog. Haimten Ramgonadder no Jutsu, he roars, creating an avalanche of wolves. Naruto slaps his hands together and slowly pulls them apart as lightning surges between them. To maximize magic chain dragon lightning, he shouts. Roga gasps as a dragon of lightning tears through his wolves and electrifies him until his heart explodes, along with his armor. Naruto turns his attention to Konan and Kushina, who were done with their opponents, before creating some clones to give the Yuki ninja burial at sea. How long before Dodo finds out they failed, Kushina says. Maybe long enough to reach Yuki's shores, Naruto says. The three head back to the ship and meet up with the others. Are they dead, Koyuki asks. They are. Seems their armor can't stand magic or continuous explosions, Naruto says. They were Dodo's strongest soldiers, Sandei says. His over-reliance on them will be his downfall, Naruto says. Once everything was secure, the ship set sails for Yuki's mainland and their confrontation with Dodo. Naruto sits in his room and pulls a certain necklace from his shirt before channeling magic into the crystal in his palm. Hey, Naruto says to tiny Samui. Hey. I was just about to take a shower, Samui says, causing Naruto to blush a little. Sorry to bother you. Just wanted to talk. We're heading to Yuki and encountered the locals, Naruto says. How did that happen, Samui asks. Naruto explains that they met Yuki Fujika's in Glacier, and they were hired to be her bodyguards, learning Yuki is actually the rightful daimyo of Yuki, and she hired them to help overthrow her uncle. You have the wildest luck. So not cool, Samui says, giggling a little. How are the others, Samui adds. They're doing well. Konan is continuing to find new ways to use her Kamaten, and the others are their normal selves, but Kushina is still a motormouth, Naruto explains, and Samui giggles. I won't keep you long. I wanted to hear your voice, he adds. Same here. Talk to you later, Samui says. Same, Naruto says, cutting the connection and slipping the necklace back into his shirt. The journey to Snow Country takes about a day and another to unpack things, setting up vehicles to take them to their wanted location. The royals see no action from Dodo, but Naruto and others notice the advancement of technology. It wasn't to the level of Niflheim or Insomnia, but it was more advanced than Kumo. Seems my uncle hasn't been making that things completely unlivable, Koyuki says. She is riding with Naruto in a trailer as the others were in another. It may be similar to Nami. A man called Gato attempted to take over the city. The common person had no idea such things were happening, Naruto says, removing his mask. Koyuki looks out the window with a sigh. I hope I can restore what my father created, she says. The journey continues, and they pass through a large tunnel system to reach an area for the final scenes of the film, but also where a number of Koyuki and Sandei's followers are waiting. I can't see the exit, Kushina says. Sitting with the other is Naruto got the lucky part. Do you here see anything, Konan asks, as Kaguya has her eyes closed and looking through the eyes of her swallows. Nothing yet, Kaguya says. About 30 minutes later they reach the exit, and the area has a steep incline up towards the forest. The director and his crew start setting up for the scenes needed to be filmed, but Sandayu notices something as the train tracks along their path have now been infused with chakra. Could he, Sandayu thought. Princess. A train is coming. I believe it could be Dodo. Sandayu shouts and looks to the director. You all need to run away. I'll alert our forces, he adds, running up the hill to the crew's shock. They found out pretty quick, Kushina says, bring out her sword. Well, we weren't inconspicuous, Rebecca says. It's nearly here, Kaguya says, bringing out her staff. Naruto slips his mask on with a roll of his neck. Rebecca. Kaguya. Konan, get to the top of the incline and provide overwatch. Kushina and I will be boots on the ground, he says, and the three nod rushing up the hill. The loud train horn echoes, and soon a long train formation bursts from the tunnel, knocking several of the trucks out of the way, and causing everyone to scatter. It slowly screeches to a halt about a mile from them. Long time no see. Koyuki, a voice says, on a loudspeaker, and Koyuki knows this voice well. Dodo stands on the railing in a black and blue chakra armor with a light blue cape as well. Give me the crystal and I'll spare your life, Dodo declares. Never, Koyuki shouts. Then I'll take it from your corpse, Dodo declares, but numerous logs smash into his train, courtesy of Sandayu and his forces. Annoy Pascal them, Dodo shouts. Several of the boxcars open to reveal several kunai launchers with Yuki Ninja manning them. Open fire, one shouts. Koyuki gasps in horror as time seems to slow as the kunai launch and a smirk forms on Dodo's face, but a large green barrier erupts to block the projectiles. What, Dodo shouts. Rebecca opens fire with her rifle and disables the launchers before they could fire another volley, for Lord Susetsu and Lady Koyuki. Sandayu shouts, as his men rush down the hill, and Yuki Ninja engage them. The director and his crew were watching but also filming as Naruto and Kushina rush towards the train. Dodo tosses his cape aside and leaps off the train as he weaves signs to dog and punches his right arm forward. Haimten Kakura Nkusetsu, he shouts. A black dragon of ice erupts from the snow with red eyes, forcing Naruto and Kushina to dodge, but Dodo unfurls wings from his armor and shunshions to grab Koyuki. Damikuchi snow jutsu, Naruto shouts, slamming his hand in the snow. Bren appears big enough for him to ride. Follow us when you can, Naruto says, giving chase. We will, Kushina shouts, joining the fight. We need to follow them. The finale is about to begin, the director says, and his crew nods, getting some snowmobblies. Koyuki struggles in Dodo's grip as they fly over the forest. Stop struggling or I will drop you to your death, he hisses. Where you taking me, Koyuki hisses. The Rainbow Valley and with the hexagonal crystal. I will gain the treasure of snow, Dodo says, and Koyuki wanted to struggle once again but doesn't. The forest soon gives way to glacial formation, with several ice slabs surrounding a small altar. Dodo lands and drops Koyuki to quickly rip the necklace from her neck, but Koyuki tries to fight back with a strike to his face, but starts dodging. Dodo backhands Koyuki to the ground and kicks her in the stomach for good measure as he rushes to the altar, placing the crystal into the slot. It glows pink, and the crystal slabs glow light green or reflect the sun as the area starts to heat up. Where's the treasure, Dodo shouts, looking around. Koyuki struggles to her feet and holds her stomach, but her eyes widen as she sees an actually phoenix. Naruto, she shouts. The ice is melting, Bren says. Naruto brings out Vortex Abandon as he sees the area is warming up, a generator. Could this be the treasure her father left behind, he says. Dodo weaves signs once to dog and shoots both his fists forward. Haimten Nkusetsu, he roars. Naruto leaps from Brenna's two black ice dragons and several flurries of arrows to block one and dispels Abandon to weave signs to link his hands together. Banten Laser Circus, Naruto shouts, firing light blue lasers at the other as he lands. He rushes towards Dodo and brings out the Vortex Fangs in reverse grip. Annoying insect, Dodo shouts, rushing Naruto with a leap and bringing his fist down. Naruto dodges Dodo as the ground shatters from his punch, but lands and closes the gap to slash, forcing the tyrant to dodge as his cheek opens up. What, Dodo says, skipping back and palming his bleeding cheek. Your armors are not invincible, Naruto says, and Dodo grits his teeth in a rage, charging the blonde in a rage and his moves sloppy. Naruto slashes Dodo several times, and uses the fangs on the power source of his armor. Lightning, Naruto says, firing a blast of lightning from his left hand. Dodo screams as his power source cracks more and more, but also from the lightning, but he too late to move as Naruto fires two wind arrows through his legs. Now Koyuki, Naruto shouts. Koyuki weaves signs to dog and slams her hands into the ice. Haimten Hakura Nkusetsu, she shouts. A white dragon with ice blue eyes erupts from the ground and twists into the air before it crashes into Dodo, sending him to the frozen depths below and ending his tyranny. Koyuki falls to her knees to catch her breath as the area continues to warm, and she sees an image of her father, but also her younger self, causing her to cry and remember the good times. Cut. That was a spectacular finale, the director shouts. It would be another 2 months to flush out Dodo's supporters and properly install Koyuki as the rightful daimyo of snow or rather spring country, as her father's treasure was a heat generator to bring spring to the snowy country. This further endeared Koyuki back to her people and the Vortex Royals as her heroes. So you'll be leaving Naruto, Koyuki says, sitting in her study with the others. We can't be a crutch, Koyuki, Kushina says. She's right. We simply helped you bring about your father's dream. Plus in the movie you defeated the villain, Naruto says. I can't wait to see us in the movie, Kaguya says, smiling. So where will you be heading, Koyuki says. Naruto cups his chin in thought but sighs. We'll head wherever the winds take us, he says. Koyuki rises from her seat and hugs each of them, thanking each for their help, and if they needed help in the future all they needed to do is contact her. The royals would head further north into the land of frostbite, where they would be walking into a dangerous situation. U Akudo I Grovmakron, the man-eating tiger, Naruto says. The village head slowly nods as his eyes held a bit of fear. There's a tiger that has lived in our lands for some time, he starts, and then takes a sip of his hot tea. There has always been an unspoken rule in the forest where the tiger resides, and one is never take its kill, the village head continues. Why, old man, Visha, Kushina says, and Naruto places a hand on her shoulder. It would the same with you and Raymond or Kaguya, well, her sweets, he says, causing Kushina to make an O face, and bringing in a little levity. Yes, but someone broke that rule. He was a newcomer to the area and believed himself superior to the tiger. He built a cabin near the tiger's range and hunted many of the wildlife. Boars, bears, even wolves, Visha explains. So this hunter breaks the unspoken rule, and this pissed off the tiger, Rebecca says, and Visha nods. He didn't get to enjoy the stolen boar. The tiger attempted to kill him, but he managed to wound the tiger and escape. However, his fate was sealed, Visha says, and touches his chest. We have a saying. If you attempt to kill a tiger and you let it live, death is a guarantee, he adds. The powerful saying, Naruto says, and Visha nods, as the blonde drinks his own tea. The hunter was terrorized for several days. The tiger would not give him any rest, destroying everything it could around the cabin. When the hunter left to seek aid, it destroyed his home and finally killed him. Upon his return we never found his body, but only small stains of blood, and his cabin trashed, Visha explains, and his face goes grim. The tiger wasn't done, Naruto says, and Visha nods. The eyes after killing the hunter. The tiger started to stalk the village near the hunter's cabin, and drawn closer and closer each time. It was a week after the hunter's death did another kill site be found. It was a brash young man. Unafraid of tigers, Visha says. We sure came into a bad situation, Conan says. I knew I wasn't imagining things, Kaguya says, rubbing her right arm and her ears down. Naruto knows exactly what Kaguya meant as when they were nearing the village. This feeling washed over her, and she could hear the slow roar far from them. How many have died, Naruto asks. 4 at present. The last 2 intended to kill the tiger. All we found were scraps, Visha replies. We may need to deal with this tiger. Not just for the village but for our own safety, Kushina says. Naruto crosses his arms in thought for a few moments. Kushina is right. This tiger may follow us and kill anyone in its way, he says, and looks to Visha. Do you know the location of the first hunter's cabin, he asks. I wouldn't go there, but I can draw you a map. Why do you wish to go there, Visha asks, concerned. I'm going to lure the tiger to me, the others will watch the village. Kaguya can pick it up if it gets close, and Rebecca can snipe it down. Hopefully it won't come to that, and it will follow me, Naruto says. Visha gasps and rises to his feet to grasp Naruto's hands with his wrinkled own. Thank you, young travelers, Visha says, and all of them nod. They would spend the night in Visha home, but Kaguya could pick up the roars of the tiger as moves through the village outskirts. The next day Naruto would head out to find the original hunter's cabin, so we're going to have a tiger palpable, Doris says. Maybe, Naruto thought, looking over the map, but summons Kaiser as well and explains the situation. That hunter was dumb or desperate if he took the boar carcass, Kaiser says, as they trudge through the snow. The only real sounds were their breathing, the crunch of snow under his boots, and the scarce sounds of wildlife. Take this to heart, Naruto. A tiger will see you 100 times before you see it once, Kaiser says. Naruto looks around at the thick forest with a sigh. Thanks for the advice, he says, continuing to move through the forest for about 25 minutes. Soon the remains of the cabin comes into view with the door off the hinges, things scattered around the outside and a mattress outside. Can you get a scent of the tiger, Naruto asks. Kaiser sniffs the ground as they move closer to the cabin and Naruto enters to check things out. He looks around and things are destroyed. Seems the tiger has been inside, Naruto says, seeing deep claw marks dug into the wooden floor. Naruto continues to look and finds a sawed-off double-barrel shotgun with some shells on the ground. I have a scent, Kaiser says. Naruto grabs the gun, but also a few shells and meets Kaiser. How far, he says. Don't know, but I got his scent, Kaiser says, growing a little bigger as Naruto climbs on his back. A store, Naruto whispers, on the shells and gun. He opens the barrel and slips into the breach, as they hear roaring through the clearing. Naruto, Kaiser shouts. Naruto barely has time to get up a shield with his armature, as the tiger crashes into him, and it takes the brunt, but the blonde screams as one of its paws digs into his chest. The tiger roars in Naruto's face, but Kaiser bum rushes the tiger off of Naruto as the blonde bleeds on the snow. Heal Naruto hisses, closing his wounds and struggles to turn on his side. He sees the tiger fighting Kaiser, and it is large, about 10 feet long, but has several wounds on his body. Naruto grabs the rifle and points it at the tiger. Kaiser. Move, he shouts, and Kaiser moves as Naruto fires with both barrels, hitting the tiger in the side. It roars in pain and prepares to charge Naruto, but Kaiser enlarges enough to bite into the tiger's side. Naruto groans and opens the barrel to dump out the shells, as the tiger roars weakly in pain. I know you got your revenge on the one who stole your kill, and the ones who tried to kill you, Naruto says and groans to touch the wounds to his chest. I will wear this as a badge of honor between man and beast. I will even give you a name to live in the memories of others, he adds. He then points the rifle as the tiger's head. Your name will be Zar, Naruto utters, before his shots echo through the clearing. Naruto and Kaiser would bring Zar back to the village to the villagers' shock, but the other royals were concerned about his injuries. However, Naruto stops them from healing his wound because to him it is a badge of honor from his fight with Zar. Isha and the villagers would use every part of Zar to honor the famed tiger. Naruto and the royals would learn Zar has been wounded numerous times, had a broken jaw that didn't heal properly, and a damaged leg. Zar's meat would be spread to the villagers, and his pelt would be displayed with respect in Vish's home. Naruto was given a necklace with Zar's claws and another with his surviving canines. The royals would remain in the village for another month to allow Naruto time to fully recover, leaving with a claw-like mark on his chest. They would leave the village and head further north to the land of wolves, where they would see a supermassive pack of wolves. The villagers would tell them that the pack is about 400 strong, and were paying hunters for every one they killed. This caught the eye of Rebecca, and she challenged Naruto to see who could bag the most wolves. Naruto took the challenge and went with one group hunters, and her going with another group of hunters as Kushina, Konan and Kaguya stayed out of it. Rebecca would win the bet by bagging nearly 100 wolves to Naruto's 90. The group would leave the land of wolves with Fatter Wallace, traveling west through the land of ice fields. They would catch a boat back south towards the land of iron, where there were more samurai than ninja. They would avoid angering the die-hard samurai, but would meet a young Onimusha, who was interested in the shinobi arts and inspired her. The group would leave the country of samurai and enter the land of earth, but would continue west towards the land of volcanoes. They would actually get to see a volcanic eruption from a distance, before eventually deciding to settle in the land of earth for a little while to further hone their skills. Land of Earth 1 year later, town of Omos. Naruto silently counts off his one-handed handstand push-ups on the balcony of their home in the town of Omos. It's been years since the group have come to the land of Earth, settling in Omos is a good place to do their bounty work. They were a few days' travel from Iwagakure no Sato, and have done some work for the Tsuchikage. I wonder how the fence sitter will react if he finds out you're the Kairoi Senko's son. Baldor comments and Naruto snorts. He leans down to stand up with a stretch and goes back inside to look over himself. He is now 15 and stands at nearly 5'9" with a decent body, having a few scars, but the main one is from Zar. He decided to further add to the memory of Zar by adding a tattoo around the claw marks, with a pair of eyes staring out of the shadows of the claws. He grabs his shirt and slips it only to head into the living room. Konan is sitting in a chair and reading a book in casual clothes. Kaguya is on the sofa watching their movie in a Billy shirt and shorts, showing off the patch of white hair above her butt. Think Kushina and Rebecca will screw up their job, Naruto says. If Rebecca can keep Kushina's temper on the bad guys, it should be fine, Konan says and looks to Naruto, revealing her elaborate piercing. Are we still dating the Tsuchikage's granddaughter, Konan adds. Naruto pours himself a glass of orange juice. The pay is good, and the missing is shunin level. I can handle it alone, he says. You sure, both say, and Naruto nods with a face, causing both to giggle. He makes his way to his room to get dressed, but also to pen a letter to one of the good ones in Konoha, who helped him in his early years, and congratulating her on her 100th birthday. She'll probably cane you for that, Baldor chuckles and Naruto snorts. He puts on his kingsclavy uniform, but it is now a dark blue and black variant with a dark undershirt, adding a half-cloth mask under his mask. He heads back into the living room and kisses the girls goodbye. So when are you going to do the deed with them, Baldor asks, as Naruto leaves their place. When we're recognized as legal adults. That's something Kushina and the others decided on. Handjobs don't count though, Naruto thought, dropping his letter at the postal drop and making his way out of town. So what is the game plan for the next year? Are we staying in the land of Earth or moving again, Baldor asks. Naruto whispers his incantation and brings out his bike. We'll stay few more months here, and travel south to the land of wind. Get our names out there and then head back to Yuzushio once I'm 16. Then we can enjoy some downtime before I head to Konoha, he thought, climbing on his bike and starting her up. Omos is located in a valley bowl, and the main source of income being several mines and iron workers. The land of Earth is mostly mountain ranges and the main income coming from mine work, but also a strange phenomenon called rock rain. Naruto makes the journey towards Iwagakure to meet Inoki Kamizuru's granddaughter Kurasuchi, about halfway between. Why can't his granddaughter do this on her own? Isn't she a chunin, Baldor says. Naruto adjusts his goggles as dust is whipped up from his bike. I'm just added backup, but he's probably testing us too, he thought. 2 days later, Naruto is sitting across from Kuretsuchi in a small open restaurant. So our target is a man called the Mountain, she says. Kuretsuchi has short black hair and distinctly pink eyes, accentuated by her eyelashes running upwards at the corners. She wears the standard attire of the Wagakure, consisting of a red uniform with her right sleeve missing and a lapel over her right leg. A brown flak jacket, fishnet tights and a skirt over them, regular shinobi sandals with a pair of gloves. Meaning he's a mountain of muscle, Naruto says. Pretty much, but Ter has a sick personality. Gramps wants him dead for the murder of his girlfriend and her children, Kuretsuchi says. Naruto takes a sip of his soda and thought at the barbarism of Ter. I can see why, he says, and looks through the menu. Do you know if he's in this town, he adds. Yes. Our Anbu tracked him here. In fact, Kuretsuchi says, moving her eyes right. Naruto picks up the metal napkin tray to look in the reflection, seeing a very tall man with short brown hair and a crew cut, wearing a large sweater and eating several steaks. And here I thought this was a date, Naruto says, but Kuretsuchi scoffs. Your hair is back apart. Now let's go, Kuretsuchi says, getting up from her seat. She's definitely brash, Fuldora says, as Naruto gets up. Ter. By order of the Sandame Tsuchikage. You are to be brought back to Iwa to stand trial. If you resist, lethal force is allowed, Kuretsuchi declares, shocking many of the patrons. Ter drives his fork into his steak and shoves the whole thing into his mouth with his dark eyes on Kuretsuchi, but also the approaching Naruto. So Noki sends his granddaughter after me, Ter says, after swallowing his steak. What you did can be overlooked, Kuretsuchi says. Ter keeps his dark eyes on Kuretsuchi's vibrant eyes, but chuckles and wipes his chin. Alright. Let's what you can do, he says, slowly rising from his seat, and Naruto's eyes widen under his hood, as Ter is pushing 7 feet in height. Follow me. I don't shit where I eat, Ter says, tossing some money on his table. Kuretsuchi and Naruto follow Ter out of the restaurant as they make their way outside of town. So who did you bring Kuretsuchi home, Ter says, walking them off the main road. Vortex Heart, Naruto says, and Ter whistles. I've heard of you. Save the daimyo of Snow, or rather Spring Country now. Even made a movie with her, Ter says. Look around for a good place, bury them. Naruto glances to Kuretsuchi and could tell she was getting impatient. This is far enough, she shouts. Music Baki asks confrontation. Ter comes to a halt with his back to them, and slowly turns to them, before slowly reaching for the hem of his shirt, and slipping it off to reveal his chiseled upper body. Naruto slowly removes his hood to show off his mask, as Kuretsuchi is about to rush forward, but Ter makes the first move by rocketing forward with a heavy and twisting left straight. Naruto and Kuretsuchi dodge, but the blonde could feel the power behind Ter's punch, before connecting with his own to Ter's left temple, and bringing him down to one knee. Beautiful, Ter says, springing to his feet to rush Naruto with a 6-piece combo, and the blonde dodging with a few counters mixed in. Doten directs and Kuretsuchi shouts, after weaving signs to bird and slamming her hands into the ground. Ter dodges the earth-earned spikes as Naruto dodges the same, and weaves his own signs to ram, rate and Reikik, he says, forcing Ter to dodge the lightning orbs. Ter changes tactics to rush Kuretsuchi with a low spear, and grabs her with a wide grin. Sao, he roars, flinging her around, and sending her crashing to the ground with several hops. Naruto spears Ter, but the large man only skids a few inches, and he raises his arms to slam several strikes to Naruto's back. The blonde channels chakra through his body to lift Ter off his feet into a punishing spinebuster, before springing to his feet and hitting a twisting leg drop to Ter's throat. Kuretsuchi staggers to her feet, but still sees a few stars, but shakes them away as Naruto dodges a front kick. Bastard, Kuretsuchi hisses and weaves signs to Snake, before sunshining behind Naruto with an inhale. Imtensakajim no jutsu, Kuretsuchi thought, spewing quicklime to cover Tri's chest and one of his arms as Naruto narrowly dodges. Ter roars and covers his free left arm with rock to swing it at Kuretsuchi, but Naruto Kawarimis with her, blocking the enlarged arm with a skid. Naruto cocks his left fist as it sparks with lightning. Raiden Sanctum, he shouts, connecting with the left straight to Ter's chin, and dropping him to his knees. Move hard, Kuretsuchi says, weaving signs to Rad and inhaling to spew a thick black ash substance to cover Ter's body to his chin. What is that, Naruto says. It's called Imten Kasukuf no Jutsu, Kuretsuchi says, before making a blade of rock to cut off Ter's head. Your money will be sent to your usual account, Kuretsuchi says, vanishing with a Doten Shunshin. She left you to clean up the mess. Plus you'll have to go back to that restaurant and pay the bill, Valdora says, and Naruto sweat drops, using abolishing flame on the remains of Ter's body, and heading back to town. Song ends. U umlaut o akido umlaut I grav macron. Naruto and company would stay in Omos another 3 months, before packing their things and heading south towards the land of wind. A Wagakure would also put them in the bingo book as crank threats, as a way to keep those outside of Iwa and Earth Country from knowing they hired them. The royals would register as bounty hunters in Wind Country's capital, and avoid Sun Agakure for the most part. Naruto would enhance his Clan affinity by learning a few jutsu from the black market, along with buying weapons to bolster his armature collection. They would spend about a year in Wind Country and smaller countries connected to their western coast. It would further teach them to survive in less than ideal conditions. They even worked normal jobs while they were on the coast. Naruto and Kushina worked on a fishing boat. Rebecca worked as tour guide and hunter on set tours for the more dangerous wildlife. Conan worked as a cook in a fancy restaurant, and Kaguya worked in a pet shop, but also as a small-time model. Naruto's 16th birthday would come and it was small affair, but it spelled time for them to return to Uzushio, also for Naruto to prepare for Konoha. However, on the train ride back to Uzushio they would meet someone who would become a powerful ally for them, but especially for Naruto. Land of Fire Hono Railway. Ieyasu Hien glares in contempt at his captors, but as of now he knows who in his family's court betrayed them. He is a man in his late 20s with strawberry blonde hair cut low and slicked back, golden eyes, defined cheekbones, slender straight nose and pronounced tear troughs. He wearing casual clothes of blue jeans, a long-sleeved shirt and a hip-length coat. What most didn't know is that Ieyasu is the heir apparent to the throne of Fire Country. His grandfather is looking to retire and looking for someone to be his heir. The pull is limited to himself, his cousin Cersei are her children and his uncle Ieyasu. His own parents died when he was young, and Cersei's parents weren't ambitious enough. He was raised and trained with the ninja monks, but also the 12 ninja guardians, learning much about his country and the others around them. Seems my plan has worked. I told Cersei one place I would be heading. Uncle Ieyasu another and grandfather another, Ieyasu thought. The leader of Ieyasu's captors approaches with a smirk on his face. I wonder how much your grandfather will pay to save you, he sneers. He is a tall and tan-skinned man with beady eyes and black hair tied into a top knot, wearing all black with a sword on his hip. Ask her whoever hired you will pay for this, Ieyasu says. The man and his fellow captors laugh. Wouldn't you like to know, though shouldn't you be more concerned with these passengers? Heir apparent of the throne of Fire Country, he says. Ieyasu glances to the people huddled up behind him, looking frightened, and the leader's men holding swords on them. Spare them, Ieyasu says, and the captors laugh loudly, as the leader pulls out a knife and runs it along Ieyasu's face. Jimbala. There's someone here, one of the captors says. Jimbala halts his knife and looks to where one of his people is pointing to see someone sitting on the bench, with their legs crossed, and their upper body hidden by a partition near the door. How could you miss someone, Jimbala shouts. This must be my lucky day. I get to meet the heir of the Throne of Fire, but I get to have a debt for saving him, the figure says. The captor that saw the figure approaches with a large knife in his hand, but jerk as the figure is holding a pistol. Gem, he says, before his head snaps back with a smoking hole. The figure rises to their feet and is wearing a black-white dress uniform jacket with the upper body featuring a hood and a beaked tip. The coat features silver lining along the torso, with the lower half of the coat forming two tails. Black pants with kingsglove boots, a long-sleeve skull and chains graphic Henley, lastly a mask with a heart cut by a vortex over the right eye. The are you, Jimbala says. The figures shift their hidden eyes towards Ieyasu. My name is Vortex Heart, the figure says, revealing their gender and weaving signs to bird. Music Dark Souls 3 Osti Herm the Giant. And this is Magen Hunter's Moon Heart says. Jimbala and his men, but also Ieyasu gasp as the outside turns dark with a red moon seemingly right next to the moving train. Jinjutsu, Jimbala shouts, trying to break it, but fails. You might want to close your eyes, your highness, Heart says, and Ieyasu does as he is told. Jimbala and his men draw their weapons, but suddenly no longer find themselves on the train. Instead they are on the streets of a decrepit town, as the people were lining the streets and cursing someone. Where are we, one says. It's Shinjutsu. We just need to break it, Jimbala hisses, but his breath hitches as he sees someone on broken knees being dragged by heavy and rusted chains. The group could hear the crows laughing as people mock and jeer the broken man being led like a dog through the streets. So here is the broken king. Dragged through the streets on broken knees and a broken body, a voice says, but Jimbala recognizes it as Heart. Strangled noises echo and Jimbala looks to see a few of his men being dragged into the sea of people, becoming part of the cursing rabble to jeer the broken king. Others were slitting their own throats to escape the mocking crows, and they too were joining the masses as well. Come out, coward, Jimbala shouts. The scene shifts to lone tree on a hill, and the broken king hanging from a tree like a common criminal, as the people cheer his death. Jimbala. Former Jonin of Sunagakur, Heart echoes around him. Jimbala clutches his sword as wind coats the blade. Tankei's no Yeba, he roars, swinging his sword, but hits nothing as the people seem unaffected by his attacks. The king hanging from the tree with heavy chain laughs an almost croaking laugh, causing those around him to flee in terror. Jimbala stares at the hanged king with rage as now he was alone at hill, all of his men gone as crows now joined the croaking laughter of the hanged king. Enough of this Shinjutsu and fight me like a man, Jimbala shouts. Shinboi are deceptive. Samurai fight man to man, Heart says. Jimbala grits his teeth in anger, but now finds himself in a dungeon, and the hanged king sitting on a throne of sharp rusted spikes. He starts to feel ill as he looks upon the face of the hanged king, or lack of face, as it appears to be a god-shaped hole. Blood starts to run from his nose, eyes, ears, as his body seems to be dragged down by rusted chains. A rotted lion circles around Jimbala with carvings on its visible bones. The dead even dance around him as the jester holds his own head with a cracked mask in hands as all them dance. All hail the hanged king, the mocking visages cry, as Jambala screams while the deceased lion roars. Song ends. U umlaut o akuto umlaut I grav makron. Ieyasu opens his eyes to find Jambala laying not far from him, with his hands clutching his chest and foaming coming from his mouth. He feels his hands being freed, and he looks up to see Vortex Heart. "You're safe now, your highness," Heart says, helping him to his feet. Ieyasu looks to see the other hostages were safe, as 4 others were checking on them, wearing masks with the symbols for ace, club, spade and diamond. "Thank you for your aid, Vortex Heart, but I would ask to see your face and know your true name," Ieyasu says. Heart sighs and removes his hood to reveal messy lightish blonde hair with eyebrow-length bangs. Asking for a person in mask who they are is a little taboo, but you are royalty, he says, removing his mask to reveal his zero blue eyes and handsome face. "My name is Naruto Nox Fluid, but at one time known as Naruto Namikaze," Heart says, and Ieyasu furrows his brow. "Namikaze," Ieyasu says, as Naruto leads him to another car as the others take care of things and escape. "Exactly. The husband of your cousin Cersei. I am the son he pushed aside for her daughters," Naruto says. Ieyasu takes a seat on the bench as Naruto remains standing. "I learned from one of the ninja guardians that Minato sent his son to train with his mother's family," Ieyasu says. "Well, you are half right. Minato sent me away with my uncle, but not to train as he claims. He did it to appease his wife, who has the ear of your grandfather," Naruto says. "Cersei and Minato's marriage is a political one, as Minato wanted to maintain his position as Hokage," Ieyasu says. "Yes. I am his bastard, and he put the village and his power before his son, but wants me to return to become a genin under his command," Naruto says. "Then why return? I've heard of Vortex Heart and your exploits," Ieyasu says. Naruto takes a seat next to Ieyasu and crosses his legs. "I'm going back to gain the inheritance my mother left behind, but I suspect Minato will make me jump through hoops to get it," Naruto says. "Then perhaps I can help. I do owe you my life after all," Ieyasu says, and Naruto tilts his head with your right expression. "I wish to test the new generation of Konoha's ninja force. Perhaps you can help in this," Ieyasu adds. "I'm not due back until the spring," Naruto says. "That is fine. It will give me time to prepare things and send them to Minato," Ieyasu says. Naruto uncrosses his legs and rises to his full height. "If you need to send me anything, send it to Lady Asakura in Uzushio," he says. "Another blunder on my grandfather and Konoha's side. I will help you," Naruto Nox Fluid, Ieyasu says, and extends his hand. "And I hope you help me, Prince Ieyasu," Naruto says, each shaking hands. Naruto excuses himself and walks towards the hatch on the top. "Oh, make sure to spread the fame of the Vortex Royals," he says, slipping on his mask, and brings out a Bostaff with his armature. He pops up the hatch with his staff and leaps to grab the edge and lift himself out of the train car, as the wind whips around him. He runs along the train cars towards the end, and leaps off towards the forest to stick to a tree. "Think he will help?" Voldora says. Naruto leaps through the trees to meet the others in thought. One can only hope, he thought. About 20 minutes of tree hopping and Naruto finds the others waiting in a small clearing. "Took you long enough," Kushina says. The 17-year-old wears gothic steampunk trouser pants with a high waist and buttons from the knee down to high-heel ankle boots, a short-sleeved dress shirt and a black tie, and a coat similar to Rebecca, along with suspenders hanging from her waist. "Was it really the Prince of Fire Country?" Rebecca says. The 18-year-old wears a double white overcoat with grey lapels and a collar of black fur. Underneath she has a thin full-body suit with black short shorts, a black bustier top and her king's glove boots. "It must have been coincidence," Conan says. The 16-year-old wears a white hakama having black trim with calf-length boots that button up the sides and a small heel. A white and black jacket that has a high collar and shows off her midriff, but also 4 piercings around her belly button and unzips from the bottom to the top. The jacket also has gold air filters on either side just below the trim, with sleeves terminating in black glove-like extensions, resembling a cat's paw. "At least we were able to save everyone," Kaguya adds. The 17-year-old wears a black and silver trench coat having lace trim, a white blouse and high-waist shorts to her mid-thigh, having garter straps to thigh-high black stockings, and calf-length boots that button up the sides, and a small heel like Conan. "Yeah, it was. If that Missingin didn't blurt it out, I wouldn't have known, but this has provided us a boon. He asked me to help with something in Konoha, and it will help me with my sperm donor," Naruto says, removing his mask and explains things. "It will be a great help to you," Conan says. "Anyway, let's head to Uzushio for some downtime," Naruto says, and all of them nod as they vanish with Shunshin. The royals would find the main road and bring out their regalia to make their way to Uzushio. "Land of Uzushio," Sisakaran says, hugging Kushina. The Redeed hugs her little sister tightly as Asakura smiles softly and looks over the others. "You've all grown again," Asakura says. "We saw your movie," Tsunade says, smirking and hugging Naruto. "Did that really happen?" Arya adds. Naruto picks her up as the group make their way inside and to the living room. "Maybe," he says. "So spill." "We've been hearing about the Vortex Royals," Tsunade says, as Shizune goes get some snacks for Arya and Karen. Naruto starts explaining about their trip towards Kumo, but leaves out the incident in Hot Water Country, meeting the Reikage and explaining things about meeting B. "So you got your butt handed to you by A's brother," Tsunade says, smirking slightly, and Naruto looks away. Kushina continues about meeting Dari, Yujito and Samui, but also becoming good friends with the latter. So your harem is growing, Asakura says, and Naruto blushes, but coughs to continue explaining how they did work for A as a test, but he went to Turtle Island and confronted his younger self at the Waterfall of Truth, learning to control Vildora's chakra. He and Samui heading to the land of bears, but also their strange encounter in the land of rice paddies. I've heard those rumors. The land of rices of paddies is now called the land of the sound, with the village Atagakure, no Sato, Asakura says. It was odd. They wouldn't say their master though, Naruto says, and continues on about the incident in Hashigakure, aiding Mitsuhi in saving her home. Then leaving Kamagakure and lightning to head further north, meeting Koyuki and helping her in saving her home from her uncle, but also bringing spring to the cold country. So the ending was true. As you didn't show until the end, Tsunade says. Almost. We met Koyuki during a snow in at an inn. We agreed to help and that lead to us being the movie thanks to the director, Kushina explains. It was very fun, Kaguya adds. Naruto then removes shirt to show his scar tattoo of Zar, and explaining about their time in the land of frostbite. Did it hurt, Karen asks, and Naruto nods. I managed to use a heal spell, but I kept the scars to remind me of Zar and keep his memory alive, Naruto says. You were really lucky to have Kaiser with you, Asakura says, and Naruto slowly nods. Rebecca starts explaining about the super pack in the land wolves, and how she beat him in hunting some of the pack, then explaining their trip through the land of iron towards the land of volcanoes. You got to see an actual eruption from a volcano, Shizune says. It was really amazing. I took some pictures, Kaguya says, going to find the pictures from her bag. Did you encounter any members of Akatsuki, Asakura asks, but Naruto shakes his head. I know I will use them for a little while. When we did some work for Iwa but we never came face to face, Naruto explains. Kaguya shows her pictures to Arya and Karen, and both light up at the sight of them, as Naruto explains their time in the land of wind, but also saving the Prince of Fire country. Now that is interesting. If he's genuine, he could very well help you, Asakura says. He's one of the better ones of his family. His parents were good people, Tsunade adds. Asakura glances to her daughters, but then to Shizune. Can you take the girls to play while the grown-ups talk, Asakura says. Oh. I'm a big girl, Karen says, and Arya nods, but Naruto ruffles their hair. Maybe but not big enough, Naruto says, and the girls follow Shizune out. So, have you decided to go alone to Konoha or takes the girls, Asakura says. Kushina said she wants to be ninja of Uzushio, Naruto says. I owe it to Dad, Kushina says. I would rather not go either. I'm not really a ninja, Rebecca says. I'll go with you. I want to know more about my father's clan, Kaguya says. I'll go with you too. One of us needs to keep you from doing something stupid, Konan says, and the others snort. One time, Naruto says. Land of honey, all of them say, and Asakura starts laughing. Naruto and company would enjoy a few months of downtime to heal their bodies, and celebrate Kushina becoming a chunin with the Rebecca becoming her partner in a two-person cell. Naruto would receive a letter from Ieyasu in January, giving him the means to go to Konoha, and not be dragged into his father's games. March would soon come too soon for Naruto, but Kushina, Rebecca, Asakura, Karen, Arya, Shizune and Tsunade assured him that they had his back. Music Selwell or the wings of Icarus. Naruto raises his hands and whispers an incantation as Ravus's Barracuda rises from the array. He remembers the white regalia with black trim and a white interior as well. It's been a long time, Naruto whispers, running fingers along crossed swords emblem on the hood. The blonde is wearing casual clothes of jeans with a white Henley having black sleeves. We'll see you at the Chunin exams, Kushina says, holding out her arms, and Naruto slowly hugs his redeed. We'll be doing the deed then too, Rebecca says, blushing slightly and hugs her blonde. We'll probably see Samui too, Kaguya says, doing janken with Konan for the front seat. True, she did pass with her friends Kari and Amoy, Naruto says, waving to Arya and Karen. Konan hops into the back seat as Kaguya gets the front seat, and Naruto climbs into the driver's seat, pulling down the visor and the keys falling into his hands. The regalia rumbles to life, and Naruto smiles as few tears forms in his eyes, but glances to see Arya likes the sound as well like he did. It'll be hers someday, Naruto thought. Contact us once you get settled, Kushina says, and all three nod. Naruto puts the car in gear and rides off with waves from the others. Are you really ready for this, Konan asks. I have to be. I need to confront my past to prepare for our future, Naruto says, riding through Uzushio towards the Great Whirlpool Bridge. He remembers coming to Uzushio for the first time with Ravus, and the second time with Kushina and the others. The smell of the sea hits their noses as they travel across the bridge, stopping a few times to rest and Kaguya getting more pictures of the sea. They reach the other side and pass through the city of Nami, where Vortex Heart was born and the country saved. They soon leave the city and pass old sights, but soon reach a familiar spot for the blonde, as he pulls off the highway and comes to a halt. Why are we stopping, Konan says, seeing a few wagons heading down the white path. This is where my journey started with Uncle Ravus, and now I'm heading back to that place, Naruto says. Konan and Kaguya place a hand on his shoulder. You aren't going back alone. Your dad made the biggest mistake when it concerns you. Now you can show him how big it really was, Konan says. Naruto sniffles a little and nods slowly as they head down the path to Konoha as the Vortex Hunter. Minato sits at his desk as his thoughts were on the last 11 years, and for him, it has been a series of ups and downs. His choice to send Naruto away with his uncle Ravis was a good one in his eyes, even if some on the council were not happy to send a 5-year-old child away. However, they were in the minority as Minato argued that Konoha has never used a Jinchuriki and wouldn't start now, bringing up the likes of Danzo and his actions to use Naruto in a coup. The minority stopped their arguments, but their respect for the Kairoi Senko diminished greatly because of his actions. The village by large were relieved that the source of their superstition was gone, and life continued on. However, tragedy happened, Minato thought. The Uchiha massacre was a serious blow to Konoha as unknown assailants nearly wiped out one of the founding clan of Konoha. Only the clan's matriarch Mikoto, her children Itachi, twins Satsuki and Sasuke, Itachi's wife Izumi and non-combatants were spared. Konoha scrambled to find the perpetrators. Some believed it was the Rouge-san in Orochimaru, as the man had a harden for the Sharingan. Itachi had reported he encountered Orochimaru in the Land of Rivers, and the Sannin tried to capture him for his eyes, but failed, losing his right arm in the process. Some argued it was one of the major villages, but no evidence was found that any of the other nations were involved. Minato places his pen down and rises from his chair to look out the window. 2 of the founding clans of Konoha have been reduced to trickles, he thought. Why couldn't Sanada-sama see reason that her daughter needs to be in Konoha? Minato whispers. When Jiraiya revealed to him that Tsunade had given birth to a child in Uzushio, the Yondaime sent no less than 10 letters asking Tsunade to come home, but also for Uzushio to realign with Konoha. However, each letter was met with a firm no on each matter, bringing up Konoha's actions concerning both clans, but it wouldn't deter the village hidden in leaves. Minato's thoughts then drift to Niflheim, and their civil war was now over with Noctis Lucis Caelum uniting the country under his banner, but also the death of Ravis. The 4th Hokage naturally thought he would receive news of Naruto's death as well, but it didn't happen, and his son seemed to survive in Niflheim. Minato returns to his desk and looks at a report on the Vortex Royals, a group on the lips of many countries and heroes of Spring Country, but also saviors of the Air of Fire Country. Cersei didn't look happy when she heard the news about Prince Ieyasu, Minato thought. The door of his office opens as his twin daughters enter in casual outfits. "Hello girls," Minato says, smiling. "Hello father," Azula says, look more mature at 16, but flatter than her sister. "Hello dad," Asuka says, more top-heavy than her sister. "So are you two ready for graduation in a week?" Minato says, and both girls nod, as Kunoichi of the year would go to either of them or both of them. "Father, is he coming back?" Azula says, slight disgust in her tone. Minato leans back in his chair to look his daughters in the eye with a soft nod. "I believe he will," he says, and Azula clucks her tongue. "He'll still be the dead last, right?" "He won't topple Sasuke-kun as Rookie of the Year," Asuka asks, and Minato nods his head. "Yes. No matter how well he does on the exams. He will be the dead last regardless of skill, and don't worry. I will make sure he's put on a different team than you," Minato says. "Good," Azula says, a smug look on her face. "I wonder what he's like now," Asuka comments, curious about Naruto. "He probably some weak bookworm," Azula says, with a smug chuckle as the sisters bid their father goodbye, and Minato goes back to his paperwork. Azula and Asuka make their way down the Hokage Tower and across the way to the adjacent Konoha Academy. The academy grounds house several buildings and has a tall tree with a single swing on it as they make their way to their classroom. The classroom is large with high ceilings and several rows leading up, having a large blackboard and a podium situated in front. "Lady Azula." "Lady Asuka." "Hello," greets Mizuki Taoji, one of their instructors. The class is made up of many heirs and heiresses from the great clans of Konoha, such as the Aburame, Akimichi, Inizuka, Nara, Uchiha, Yamanaka and few civilian clans, but also a transfer from Iron Country. "Look at Sasuke-kun and his lowborn girlfriend Sakurabuta," Asuka whispers to her sister, and Azula giggles softly. "He should be with someone of proper status like me," Asuka whispers. Sasuke has black hair in the shape of a duck's rump and charcoal eyes, wearing white shorts and blue sandals with a dark blue top, having the Uchiha red-white fan symbol on the back. Sakura Haruno is one of the many civilian-born ninja having long pink hair and jade-green eyes. She wears a red and white kipao dress with a white circle on the back, dark green biker shorts and blue sandals. "Mendaki-say. The troublesome twins are here," whispers one Shikamaru. He has black hair and pineapple ponytail and dark eyes with a lazy expression on his face. He wears dark blue pants with matching sandals, a black short-sleeve shirt, and a short-sleeve gray jacket with green-edged sleeves, and the Nara clan symbol on the back. "Chomp. Chomp. You shouldn't say this," Shikamaru says, one Choji Akimichi. He's a plump young man with markings on his cheek and a mane of brown hair. He wears a red suit and black pants with plated armor on his torso, arms, and upper legs with black sandals. "Maybe," Shikamaru says and yawns a bit, glancing to Ino Yamanaka speaking to Satsuki Uchiha. Ino has light blue eyes with long platinum blonde hair having bangs framing the right side of her face. She wears a purple outfit consisting of a high-collar blouse and matching apron skirt. Bandages around her abdomen and legs, small hoop earrings and white arm warmers. Sasuke has long black and wavy hair to just past her shoulders and charcoal eyes. She is wearing a dark blue sleeveless shirt with the Uchiha symbol on the back and lilac shorts, dark arm sleeves and purple thigh highs with black sandals. Hey Azula and Asuka Kiba Inizuka shouts, followed by his Ninkin Akamaru barking. Kiba has wild brown hair, sharp black eyes with vertical slit-like pupils, pronounced canine teeth, and red fang marks on his cheeks. He wears a leather form-fitting black jacket, with zippers over the chest and sleeves, along with black pants and sandals. Keep your voice down, Kiba says one Hinata Hyuga. The Hyuga heiress is the third of the princess trio with Asuka and Azula, her signature white eyes glaring at the dog boar. She has long indigo hair in a Heim cut, and wears a lavender and cream hooded jacket with lavender cuffs over mesh armor, navy blue pants and black low-heel sandals. Shino Abiram comments but is speaking to his Kakechu insects, wearing the heavy clothes of his clan, and keeps his looks hidden. The other most notable person in this famed class is Tsubaki Kurigane from Iron Country, as she was spurred by her rival Vortex Heart to become a ninja and chose Konoha. She has large pink eyes and thick eyebrows, straight brown hair reaching her lower back with cropped bangs, apart from chin-link strands that frame the sides of her face. She also keeps her hair in a high ponytail secured by a headpiece with two pink flower-like beads. She wears a white robe with pink lining on the collar and sleeves, a turtleneck undershirt, chin-linked pink pants, black legging and socks, and sandals. Alright. Everyone settle down and shut up. I won't keep you long, Ruka Yamino declares, another instructor of the class. Umlaut o Akudo umlaut I Grav Macron. Naruto sees the gates of Konoha coming into view with his eyes hidden behind black-rimmed circular glasses with a blue lens. Kaguya and Konan have sunglasses as well with pink and orange lens respectively. Naruto slows down as they near the gates, and two Chunin hurry towards them, as people were starting to gawk as time passes. Oryuan says, a nondescript man with dark hair and wearing Konoha's uniform. It consists of dark blue long-sleeve shirt and matching pants, a forest green flak vest with a Konoha hide. I'm here to see the Hokage. My name is Naruto Nox Fluid, Naruto says and points his thumb to the girls. They are Konan Itsuko and Kaguya Itsuki, he adds. What is this thing, the other says, a Kunoichi with dark hair. Ariglia. Now can you inform the Hokage I am here, Naruto says. The Kunoichi Chunin heads back to the check-in hut to inform the Hokage as Naruto gets out of the Barracuda to lean on the hood. Should we get out, Kaguya says and Naruto nods. Kaguya and Konan slips out of the Barracuda as a yellow flash erupts at the gate as Naruto pushes off the hood. He whispers an incantation, and the Barracuda breaks down into silver dust with his eyes on his father. Naruto, Minato says. Minato Namikaze. It has been a long time, Naruto says, lifting his sunglasses, and Minato could see the seriousness in his son's eyes. So you've returned, Minato says, glancing to both Konan and Kaguya, but making a note of the Demihuman's eyes. Yes. Yes, I did. I came back for my inheritance, Naruto says. Minato places a hand on Naruto's right shoulder and the younger blonde glances to the hand. Let's talk in my office, Minato says. Kaguya and Konan take their blonde's hands as Minato raises a half-ram sign as they vanish in a yellow flash to appear in the Hokage's office. Before we talk about your inheritance, let's talk about how you've been. I heard about Ravis, Minato says, walking around to take a seat at his desk. I've been training and traveling, Naruto says, curtly, and Minato frowns slightly. I see, so I do have your inheritance from Luna, but I can't just give it you, Minato says, and Naruto runs his fingers through his hair with a sigh. Why not? Mom left it for me. Not you, Naruto says. Maybe so, but I am your father, Minato says, and both girls could feel the tension starting to make itself known. Naruto adopts a blank face with another sigh. If you were my father, or rather acted like my father, you wouldn't have pushed me away for your new family, he says. Naruto. I'm not going to have this argument with you again. Things were rough at that time, and I needed to make a choice to protect the village, Minato says, and Naruto clucks his tongue. The village always comes first. I've heard that so much when I was little it was nauseating. Naruto starts and looks to his loves. It was their excuse for everything. It didn't matter that I was Vildora's host. I was a bastard. Child of the foreigner, he says, as Minato rubs his forehead. Yes, you were born out of wedlock and to someone from the south, but you are still my son, and I can't just give you what Luna left you, Minato says. That doesn't make sense, Lord Yondaime. Lady Lunafreya left an inheritance to her son, not you, Kaguya says, and Minato narrows his eyes. There are rules in place at place. Something that you may not understand, but Naruto is my son, and whatever Luna left goes to their living parent until the child is considered an adult, and Chunin, Minato says, and Naruto chuckles, rubbing the back of his neck. So that was your plan. So I have to become a shinobi of Konoha, but also reach the rank of Chunin. Fine. I figured you pulled some scheme. So when is the Genin exams, Naruto says. In 1 week now, Naruto. Even if you were to pass, you would be considered the dead last and may not be guaranteed a team, Minato says, and Naruto points his thumbs to Konan and Kaguya. They'll take it with me and I have a team. Will you give me a sensei or try to say none are available, Naruto says. If you pass, I'll get you sensei, Minato says and taps his desk. Nico, he says. A female Anbu with a cat-themed mask and long purple hair appears, wearing the standard Anbu of a black outfit with grey flak vest and forearm guards. Her porcelain mask resembling a cat with 3 red stripes, 1 vertical stripe on the forehead and 2 horizontal stripes, 1 on each cheek. Escort Naruto and his comrades to the academy to meet with the instructors, Minato says, and Nico bows at the waist with Naruto following, but the blonde stops. But one more thing, Naruto says, channeling some chakra to a silver ring on his left index finger. An envelope appears with a wax stamp and Naruto places it on Minato's desk. Don't worry about finding us a place, Naruto says, following Nico out with Konan and Kaguya. Minato slowly reaches for the envelope, and his breath hitches as the imprint on the wax seal is that of the fire daimyo, or rather the heir apparent. How could he know the prince, Minato thought, breaking the seal and pulling out the letter within the envelope. The letter states that Naruto would be his eyes and ears within Konoha, having met Naruto by coincidence, and he explained many things to him. Minato continues to read that the prince would be coming to Konoha personally during the Chunin exams, with a team of investigators to check over everything in Konoha. Naruto himself would test Konoha's genin to see how they fare, but this is to not be revealed to set genin, or those genin would strip to their ranks, but their status as heirs or heiresses as well. How can something like happen? How could Naruto meet his highness? No, I can fix this. I can fix this somehow, Minato thought, clutching the letter. O Akudo I Grov Macron. Naruto and his girls stand outside one of the classrooms as Nico went inside to explain things, but he could hear the excited chatters of disbelief of someone coming in at the last minute and getting to take the test. Do you know any of them? Other than your sisters, Kaguya asks. I saw them around but was never invited to their homes. Some might not even remember me, Naruto says. Nico slides open the door and slides it back close. Give the instructors a few moments to settle them down. They will call you in, she says, excusing herself and vanishing with a swirl of leaves. Where will we be staying after this, Konan asks, as Naruto rocks on the balls of his feet. I know a place and she'll probably cane me when I ask her, Naruto says, confusing the pair. Inside, Iruka is trying to settle everyone down, after learning 3 new students would be joining to take the genin exams. Alright. Enough. Even if they do perfect on the exams, they will consider the dead last, he says. Still. 3 newbies out of nowhere, Ino says. Regardless of your feelings on the matter, Ino. This was sent down from Yundame-sama, Iruka says and looks to the door. You can come in now, he adds. The door slides open and a chill goes up everyone's spine, as Naruto makes his way inside with Kaguya and Konan behind him. What they didn't know is the blonde is using a little of Vildora's Kai to make an impression. Who's this kid? He has me on edge. Like Orochimaru-sama is standing in front of me, Mizuki thought, and the chill vanishes as the 3 stand in front of a chalkboard. Go on and introduce yourself, Iruka says. I'm Naruto Nox Fluid. I'm Konan Atsuko. I'm Kaguya Atsuki, and yes, these are real. I am a rabbit and Mihuman, the 3 say in tandem, bang a bit. Using your dead mother's name, her brother Azula says, and a few murmur in shock. Long time no see, Azula. Flat I see compared to Asuka, Naruto says, causing a few of her fanboys to glare at him and Azula to have a look of rage. And Asuka. Still following Azula like a lost puppy on a leash, I see, Naruto adds, and Asuka looks mortified. Enough of that. Take a seat next to Shino, Iruka says, pointing to the bundled Apurum. The Namika's sisters continue to glare at their brother as do their fanboys, but the blonde ignores them, taking his seat on the row with Kaguya and Konan. Greeting, Shino says, and Naruto gives him a nod, with Konan doing the same as Kaguya waves. Iruka starts on a lecture about how over the next week they would be going over what will happen for the genin exams. Seems we came at the tail end of class, Konan says, as Iruka and Mizuki dismisses them. Naruto sees his sisters leaving to no doubt whine to Minato about how he was so cruel with his words, many of their fanboys following them as well. The main players remain behind to interrogate their newest rivals. Why did you call Azula? And Asuka's sister Kiba says. Because he is their brother, Satsuki says. She got it in one. I am the Yondame's first child and Kyuubi Jinchuriki. I'm sure you know about that, Naruto says. The Yondame and the Oracle defeated it before it got to the village, Shikamaru says. The Oracle was my mother Lunafreya Nox Fluid from the Insomnia, Naruto says. Is Insomnia not in Niflheim to the south, Ino says, and all 3 nod. Are those really real, Sakura says, and Kaguya nods, but sees Hinata glaring at her. Your eyes. Are you blind, Hinata says. No. My eyes just look like this. Is it wrong, Kaguya says and leans her head to let Sakura touch her ears, but Hinata says nothing more, before leaving the classroom. So you've been in Niflheim all this time, Sasuke asks, curious about why the Yondame's son was not in the village. I was there until I was 13. Then I started to travel and train, Naruto replies. Really, Ino says, and the 3 nod. We didn't have the luxury of an academy to learn from, Konan says, as the 3 rise from their seats. Nice to meet you all, Naruto says, as the 3 excuse themselves and the group watch them leave. He seems kind of cold, Choji says. But looks sorta strong, Sasuke says, as all of them start to leave the classroom. Naruto and his girls leave the academy grounds with the blonde's hands in his pockets. Do you remember any of them? More than just in passing, Kaguya asks. The Uchiha twins. Sometimes their mom would sit with me, Naruto says. That Hyuga girl doesn't like me. She probably thinks my eyes are like theirs, Kaguya says, as the 3 were walking through the streets of the village. Minato will give you the 3rd degree. Hey, you too hungry, Naruto says, pointing to Thunder Burger. Yeah. You need your protein, Konan says, and Kaguya giggles, but Naruto sighs. The three enter the shop and it is bustling to a point but not packed. Welcome to Thunder Burger. What can I get you, the server says, as the three look over the menu. I'll get the chicken salad with the apple slices and the water, Kaguya says. I'll get the patty melt. Medium fry and fountain drink, Konan says. Naruto continues to stare at the menu. Triple burger with a large fry and large fountain drink. Plus the patty melt with extra onions and a chicken wrap with extra sauce, he says, shocking a few behind him. The server rings up everything, and Naruto pays as she gives them their cups, water and number. We'll go see the person who will put us up after, Naruto says, finding a booth to sit in after filling their cups. Who is this person, Kaguya asks. Her name is Kaharu Utatane. She's one of the village elders and taught me when I was small. She even babysat me after Azula and Asuka were born, Naruto says, sipping his soda. Your father is not a nice man, Kaguya says, and Naruto snorts, nodding. The server calls their number and Naruto grabs the tray full of food and brings it back to the table. So this elder will let you live with her, Konan says, grabbing her patty melt and fries. She may hit me with her cane a few times, but she cares, Naruto says, opening his triple burger and taking a bite. A bolt of lightning strikes the blonde and a pink cloud forms around his head, something both pick up on and laugh softly. Naruto devours his triple burger quick and descends on his patty melt, chicken wrap and fries, but also filling his 32 ounces drink 4 separate times. You can be a glutton sometimes, Konan comments, still eating her meal, and Kaguya nods as well. Lame Vildor, Naruto says, and that Sun Yer Dragon huffs, before going to get 3 more triple burgers to go. The three leave Thunder Burger and make their way towards the northeastern part of the village to find Kaharu's home. Konan and Kaguya notice the village itself is a little packed together compared to cities in Niflheim. The houses and shops start thin out, and several large homes appear, before the blonde stops at the twistory house with medium-sized front yard, and a 5'8" wall stone pillar fence, having metal fencing between. Is this the place, Konan asks, and Naruto nods, pushing the doorbell button next to male slot pillar. The gate unlocks and the three enter through the gate to walk up the stone path towards the house, up the 4 steps and knock on the door 3 times. A few moments pass and the door unlocks as it slowly opens to reveal an old woman with squinted eyes. She has gray hair pulled back in a twin bun, locked by traditional hairpins with several pearls dangling off the side and tassels. She wears a simple long kimono, closed by an obi, a jacket, and a sash over it. Got my letter, Granny, Kaharu, Naruto says, before the woman cracks him across the face with her cane. I did, you little brat. Now come in, Kaharu says. Naruto follows Kaharu inside with Konan and Kaguya following, slipping off their shoes in the process. Have you spoken to your father, Kaharu says, leading them into the living from the main hall. The living has 2 long sofas with a long table, 2 recliners and a place for a TV, but no TV. I did and got to see my sisters too, but also the current class, Naruto says, taking a seat on one of the long sofa with Kaguya and Konan, as Kaharu takes a recliner. Some show promise, but Minato and Hiruzen are more PC-oriented, Kaharu says, looking over the boy she babysat. He has grown up good-looking thanks to Luna and Minato's good looks, but she notices the piercing on his ears of silver earrings that hug his ears, one on the lobe and other 2 on the top of the ears. But that isn't too bad, Konan says. I believe so your letter a year ago was vague, Kaharu says. Naruto shifts in his spot on the sofa and starts to explain about his travels, but keep things vague, keeping their jobs for Kumo and Iwa off the record, but told her about Samui. Did you do work for Kumo, Kaharu says, seriously as Naruto crosses his legs, but nods his head. Well, you aren't a Konoha ninja yet, and Minato wanted nothing to do with you, however why decide to become a Konoha ninja, Kaharu adds. I want what my mother left me, but he's playing a game of having to become a genin, and promoted to Chunin, Naruto explains, and Kaharu doesn't voice her thoughts, but she was disappointed in her Hokage. Well, that shouldn't be too hard if you're half as skilled from what you told me. Then you'll become a Chunin quickly, Kaharu says. Thank you, Granny, Kaharu, Naruto says. Kaharu gets up from her chair with her gaze shifting to Konan and Kaguya. The 3 of you can stay until you find a place of your own. However, it will be separate rooms. Girls in one and you in the other. Also no is to be had, Kaharu says. We won't. Kushina wants to wait for the Chunin exams, Naruto says, and Kaharu smacks him with her cane. Good. Asakura's daughter is a fine choice. Now follow me and unpack your things, Kaharu says, and all 3 follow her upstairs. Naruto and company would spend the next week listening to Iruka's boring lectures about histories, or what to expect to pass the genin exams. Minato would call Naruto to his office the day after his arrival for his words against his sisters, but the young blonde ignored his father's words, as they didn't get to him as they did as a child. A few of Azula and Asuka's fanboys attempted to mean-mug the blonde, but a little flex of Vildora's chakra sent them skittering off like rats. Hinata would often stare at Kaguya, and the trio were waiting for the Hyuga to try something, but nothing came yet. The others would try to get to know the 3, but it was slow going as they were wary of the Konoha heirs and heiresses. U umlaut o akito umlaut I grov macron. Naruto sits with Konan and Kaguya as Mizuki passes out the tests for the first part of the genin exams. Naruto is wearing jeans with hiking boots, a long-sleeve henley with the graphic of two swords through a shield on the back with a smaller one on the front. Kaguya is wearing a black button vest with coattails and silver buttons. Underneath is a white, sleeveless, high-necked, crop undershirt and black pants, shifting to silver like her boots. Konan is wearing a black and blue high-collar halter top, two silver, intersecting belts over her chest, and black shorts. Black thigh eyes and a wrap of two strips of blue cloth that drape over either side of her hips, along with a smaller, white strip of cloth tied around her waist with silver ankle boots. The test is fairly simply for those living in Konoha, but Naruto aided Konan and Kaguya on the history. Alright everyone. You have 1 hour to finish the test. Once you finish, you can turn the test in and leave the room, but you must remain on the academy grounds. Now begin, Iruka states. Everyone starts their test in silence as Mizuki and Iruka look over them for bouts of cheating. The first to finish is Sakura, and she turns in her test followed by Satsuki. The students slowly turn in their tests, and Iruka narrows his eyes as Naruto turns in his test as Mizuki stares at the blonde. I don't think one of them likes you, Vildor says. Naruto bobs his head as he makes his way to the roof of the academy. Maybe, but it won't do them any good, he thought. He reaches the roof but finds Sakura and Satsuki already there. Hello Naruto, Satsuki says, and Naruto waves. Naruto, I wonder. Do you remember me? Satsuki adds. I do actually. How is your mom? I heard about what happened, Naruto says, standing in front of the railing. Satsuki looks down at the tiles with a soft look. She's fine, but she was confined to a wheelchair after that night. However, she's better now and walking, she says. You know Sasuke-chan and Sasuke-chan's mom? Sakura asks. When I still lived here, I used to sit alone in the park. Lady Mikoto would come sit with me sometimes, Naruto explains. Azula and Asuka were actually happy you were gone, Satsuki says, and Naruto runs his fingers through his hair to scratch his scalp. Of course they were, but I bet they were sad they couldn't blame things on me anymore, Naruto muses, glancing back to What's that necklace around your neck? Sakura asks. Naruto lifts Sar's claws with a soft smirk. In my travels, I encountered a man-eating tiger, he says, shocking both girls. A man-eating tiger? Satsuki says. Yes. It was in the land of Frostbite. Well, you see, in the forests of Frostbite there was a rule that people abided by with a tiger named Tsar, but someone broke that rule, and he paid the price for it. So did a few others, Naruto explains. He was nose open to us once we neared the village, Kaguya says, shuddering a little. I decided to be bait and lure Tsar out to help the people. I also learned that a tiger can see you 100 times before you see it once. And it nearly cost me my life, Naruto says and touches his chest. However, I managed to survive, and I took these claws to honor Tsar, he adds. Honor, Sasuke says, standing behind them. Naruto fully turns to Sasuke with his hands in his pockets. Tsar was a revered tiger in the village, but his man-eating called for him to be put down, Naruto says. That sounds a bit far-fetched, Sasuke says, but his eyes widen and breath hitches, as Naruto lifts his henley to show the scars within the tattoo. Are those claws? Mark Sakura says. The very same ones around my neck, Naruto says, pulling his shirt down. He decides to head back down to check on things with Kaguya and Konan, as Sasuke stares at Naruto's retreating form. Just who are you? Sasuke thought. The first part of test finishes and everyone is led outside to several dummies with 2 long tables of shuriken and kunai. The second test will score your accuracy. You are to use 10 shuriken and 10 kunai to strike the targets, Iruka explains, and Naruto notices the numbers have thinned a little from the first test. Iruka starts calling everyone in order of their surnames, with Shino getting 7 out of 10 on both weapons, Choji getting 6 out of 10 at his turn. Konan Atsuko Mizuki shouts. Konan makes her way to the table and picks up the kunai, before turning her attention to dummies and tossing to get 9 out of 10, with the same happening for her shuriken. Many of the students murmur in shock as Azula glares at Konan, while a few others take their turns and get average to below average. Naruto knocks fluid, Iruka shouts. And here I thought they would use Namikaze like they have been trying, Naruto thought. Use these, Naruto Mizuki says, a disingenuous smile on his face, and pointing to a set to the left of the pile. Oh thanks, Naruto says, picking up the kunai and feel they are weighted. He goes to the line as he tosses a kunai up and down. He must be your sister's, Sycophant Vildora comments. Naruto takes 2 between his fingers, and with a little force tosses them at the dummies. Then the remaining 8 as Mizuki's eyes were wide as Naruto gets 10 out of 10 with the shuriken doing the same. So you have some skill, brother, but it won't help you, Azula says, but Naruto ignores her, walking back to Konan and Kaguya. He'll still be dead last, Sister Asuka says. The test continues with average scores from civilian-born ninja to above average from Hinata getting 9, Sakura and Kiba with 7, Shikamaru getting 6, Tsubaki getting 7 with their turns. The Namikaze sisters each 10 out 10 on both, but due to lightweight weapons provided by Mizuki. Kaguya Atsuki, Iruka calls out. Kaguya goes to the table and picks up her kunai, before making her way up the line, and tossing to get 8 out of 10 and 7 out of 10 on the shuriken. The test soon finishes with the Uchiha siblings getting 8 out of 10 on both, and Sasuke showing a bit of what Itachi taught them. Those that got below average failed, and the numbers thinned with it being civilian-born ninja that failed. The group will lead back to a sparring area for the third part of the exam, and Naruto explains that each student would spar with Mizuki for up to 5 minutes, but if you cannot last a minute, then you would fail the third part of the exam, and this would further thin out the civilian born. This time around students were picked by their names, but the clan heirs and heiresses got to go first. Mizuki took it easy on the Namikaze sisters with limited speed and pulled strikes, allowing them to go the distance. The others last about an average of 3 to 4 minutes, with even Sakura lasting 2.5 minutes, even though she is a civilian-born student. Her time with Sasuke and Satsuki aided her. Kaguya and Konan last about 4 minutes, but mainly by choice. Iruka calls Naruto's name, and he was one of the last to go, but had all eyes on him. Mizuki stares with a lopsided smile and glances to the Namikaze sisters. Don't worry, Lady Azula. Lady Asuka. I'll make him pay, Mizuki thought. Naruto pulls out a pair of black gloves from his pocket and holds one with his teeth as he slips one on, then the other as Mizuki stands opposite him. Iruka-sensei. The test is the last up to 5 minutes with Mizuki-sensei. Correct, Naruto says, adjusting his gloves, and Iruka tilts his head in confusion but nods. So what would happen if you were to beat Mizuki-sensei? Naruto says, his azure blaze on Mizuki. Do you think you can beat a teacher? Nox Kiba says, and Akamaru barks his opinion. Naruto glances to Kiba with a wink and turns his attention to Mizuki. Come now, Naruto. Certainly you don't think you can beat me. I can Chunin after all, Mizuki says. Maybe, but I am the son of 4th Hokage. I think that gives me advantage. My sisters went the distance and could have perhaps beaten you. So why I can't do the same, Naruto says. Don't try to use dad's name to try to puff yourself up, Asuka shouts. Shikamaru and Sasuke were staring in thought but thought the same. Show me your strength, both thought. Don't blame me if I hurt you and run to your father, Mizuki says. Naruto shifts his right close his chin and his left raise with his stance lowered. Turnabout is fair play, he says. Mizuki rushes forward, but not with genin speed, and Iruka is about to call out to him. However, his fellow teacher has to quickly block Naruto's left jab with his forearm. I'll get you before you pull back, Mizuki thought, but his breath hitches, as he has to block several of Naruto's jabs. Iruka stares with wide eyes at Naruto's jabs. He's not pulling all the way back, but he is sending such fast and powerful punches, Iruka thought. The other students were wittied, as well as Naruto peppers Mizuki with his jabs, but Konan and Kaguya were not surprised. How the hell is he throwing those punches? Kiba shouts. It's thanks to him having strong shoulders and wrists, but to throw those jabs. It took a lot of training and technique, Konan explains. They look similar to corkscrew blows, Sasuke says, his Sharingan active with one tomo in each red eye. However, Naruto uses his left arm, Kaguya adds. Mizuki backs away with a look of rage on his face, compared to Naruto's relaxed face, but if one could see under his sleeves, would see welts forming from Naruto's jabs. You little bastard, Mizuki thought, rushing forward but not seeing the smirk. Everyone gasps as Mizuki's head snaps up, and he crumbles to the ground as Naruto looks down at him. Do I pass Iruka-sensei? Naruto says. What the hell happened? Ino says. The right hook grazed his chin, and an uppercut to finish, Satsuki says, her Sharingan active as well. Iruka quickly rushes to Mizuki and checks on him, but he is out cold, and quickly calls for some other instructors to take him to the medical wing. Azula bites in her lip in anger as she stares at Naruto. He knocked out a Chunin, she thought. Iruka comes back and ushers the students to one of the empty classrooms with a medium adjacent room having a table and 2 chairs. Also another table with numerous hide of various colors. Iruka explains to them that the final test would be to demonstrate 3 jutsu to pass. Naruto sits with Kaguya and Konan as everyone starts to try for their final exam. When should I? Konan says, tapping her cheek. We can hold off for the moment. Once you reveal your Kamaten, those in power will try get it for themselves, Naruto says, as Konan's name is called, and she heads to the testing room. You are quite skilled in Taijutsu, Sasuke says, approaching with his sister and Sakura. Thanks. Did your Sharingan copy it? Though I don't think you can mimic it, Naruto says. Probably can't, but it was something to see, Satsuki says. Naruto sees Konan coming out the test room with a blue hit aid as one by one each student goes in and comes out with or without a hit aid, while Naruto and company wait with Sasuke's small group. Naruto knocks floor, a teacher says, and Naruto rises to his feet as his sisters glare at him. He enters the room and sees Iruka sitting at the desk with another instructor. Alright, you must perform the Kawarimi. Hanjin 4 clones, Iruka says. Naruto nods and holds up a ram sign to swap with a chair, then turns into his uncle Ravis, and lastly 4 clones pop to life. You pass, Naruto, Iruka says, shocked as Naruto grabs a black hit aid. He leaves the room and sees his sisters or Azula glaring him as he goes back to his little group. Her face may stay like that, Doris says, and Naruto snorts. The tests continue until only 24 genin pass the exams. Congrats to everyone who has passed and those that didn't. Good luck next year. Now everyone is dismissed for about 2 hours. When you return, you will find which teams you will be on, Iruka says, dismissing everyone. Do you all want to go to Thunderburger? Naruto asks Sasuke and his little group, all of them nodding, but Kiba and a few others decide to join them. The princess trio watch them leave with disgusted looks on their faces, but Naruto and company ignore them. U umlaut o akuto umlaut I grov macron. Minato cuts contact with his crystal ball and turns his attention to the assembled jonin for the coming class, but Hiruzen is there as well. Quite the crop of genin, Hiruzen says. Minato places the glass orb into his desk with a slow nod, but his thoughts were on Naruto and his skills displayed, indeed. All the clan heirs pass with a few other standouts, Minato says and clears his throat. Now does anyone have preferences, he adds. I would like the newest iteration of the Inoshikacho Sumisura Tobi and son of the Sandame says. He is tall man with brown eyes, olive skin, short black spiky hair, and a beard. His clothing consists of the standard Konoha uniform with the sleeves rolled up halfway, flak jacket, regular shinobi sandals and hide. He also wears a sash that has the kanji for fire, a pair of black bangles, and bandages wrapped around the arms of his sleeves. Denied. The Inashikacho is well known, and many nations know their skillset. Plus they are too dependent on each other, and being separated would benefit them, Minato says, and Asuma slowly nods, taking a drag on his cigarette. The Kajisama who will teach the savages, one Roki Tamaruto says, and a few murmur. He is a handsome man with blonde hair and blue eyes, his hair swept over his right eye, and wears the standard jonin attire, but has a sash having the kanji for fire on it as well. Roki. That is still my son, Minato says, and Roki bows at the waist. Apologizes, Roki says. Minato looks over the jonin with his azure blue eyes locked on a select few who would be the teachers of the next generation. The teams will be as followed, he says, dictating the first 6. TAM7 will be Azula Namikaze, Asuka Namikaze and Hinata Hyuga. Roki, you will be their sensei, Minato says, and Roki bows at the waist again. TAM8 will be Shikamaru, Sasuke Uchiha and Shino Aburam. Kurenai, you will be their sensei, Minato states. Yes, Kajisama Kurenai says. She is beautiful and fair-skinned woman with long and untamed black hair, but also unique red eyes having an extra ring to them. She wears a red mesh armor blouse with only the right sleeve visible, a dress looking similar to bandages with a pattern on it, similar to those of rose thorns with kunoichi sandals and black leggings. Kakashi, you will have TAM9 of Sasuke Uchiha. Sakura Haruno and Kibit and Izuka, Minato says, and Kakashi says nothing but giggles as he reads his book. Right, Sensei, Kakashi says, after 2 minutes. He has upturned silver hair oriented to the right and one eye visible as his other is hidden by his hide, but also wears a half-cloth mask, and the standard Konoha attire. KRHMP. Asuma, you will be the sensei of TAM10. I will be Ino Yamanaka. Choji Akamichi and Tsubaki Kurigane, Minato says, and Asuma nods, noticing he got 2/3 of the Inashikacho, but also a samurai in training. You have your teams. You are to get them in about 2 hours. Kakashi, Minato says, and some of the jonin snicker as they leave Minato's office. What about Naruto and his 2 comrades? Hiruzen says, once the jonin were gone. Nico, Minato says, and Nico appears on one knee. Remove your mask, Yugao, he adds, as Nico rises. She slowly reaches for her mask and removes it to reveal a beautiful face with brown eyes and full lips. You will the sensei of TAM11 of Naruto knocks forward. Konan Itsuko and Kaguya Itsuki, Minato says, and Yugao bows at the waist, vanishing with a swirl of leaves. Speaking of the one called Kaguya. Her eyes are eerily similar to the Byakugan, Hiruzen says. Hiashi has already brought it up when Hinata told him, Minato says, as Hiruzen relights his pipe. Then a possible unsealed Byakugan not part of the clan exists. If she does possess it, the Hyuga will want her sealed, Hiruzen says. Minato leans back in his chair with a sigh. If she does have the Byakugan, are the Hyuga willing to go against the daimyo and his heir, he says, and Hiruzen knew what he meant as he read the letter. We should at the very least have her tested. But also impress upon Hiashi not to push things if she does, Hiruzen says, and Minato nods. U umlaut o akuto umlaut I grov macron. Sasuke and the others were amazed someone could eat as much as Choji, but Naruto showed them. The blonde has eaten 5 triple cheeseburgers, 5 patty melts, 4 medium fries and 5 32-ounces cups of soda. There was still another 4 to 5 minutes before they needed to return to the academy for their team placements. The group were sitting a few tables pushed together so they could speak. Why do you eat so much? You are even Faino says, catching herself before Choji hears the fort as Naruto finishes his cup and was about go fill it up. I'm a Jinchuriki and I have a high metabolism, Naruto says. Have you met other Jinchuriki? Sakura asks. A passing glance but never met. There are 8 other Jinchuriki in the world. 8 other people who house a Biju, Naruto says. So any idea who will be on a team with Ino says, changing the subject. He knows but it'll be a drag, Shikamaru says, and Ino nearly smacks him. I hope I'm on a team with Sasuke, Sakura says. I wouldn't mind being on a team with you, Kiba says. Tsubaki stares at Naruto as she eats her mountain of fries. Naruto knocks floored. Have you ever been to Iron Country in your travels? She asks. No. Iron is a bit discriminatory towards shinobi. So we avoided the country, Naruto replies and rises from his seat. I'm going fill my drink and get another patty melt. Anybody want anything? He adds, but everyone shakes their heads. Isn't that the weird girl? Vildoris says, and Naruto makes a face, remembering Tsubaki constantly challenging him. She came all the way here. I thought she would go to Iwa, but it can't be helped, Naruto thought, ordering another patty melt to go and filling his cup again. Do you think your father will split you three up? Doris says. He wouldn't go against the prince, Naruto thought, standing by the counter and sipping his drink. His number is called, and Naruto grabs his bag to head back to the table, but sees Sasuke, Sakura and Satsuki gone. They left, Naruto says. Yeah. They wanted to walk around, Ino says. We'll do the same. See you at the academy, Naruto says, as Kaguya and Konan grab their trays and the others wave. He takes them on a small tour of the village like the park where Ravis found him, deciding to hang out in said park. The time soon comes and the three make their way back to the academy as others were doing the same, meeting in their classroom, and a few minutes later Ruka arrives, doing another boring speech as he starts on the first 6 teams. TAM7 will be Azula Namikaze, Asuka Namikaze and Hinata Hyuga, with your sensei being Roki Tamaruto. TAM8 will be Shikamaru, Satsuki Uchiha and Shino Abiram. Your sensei will be Kurenai Yuhi. TAM9 of Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno and Kiba Inuzuka, with your sensei being Kakashi Hatake, Ruka says, and clears his throat a little. TAM10 will be Ino Yamanaka, Choji Akamichi and Tsubaki Kurogane. Your sensei will be Asuma Sarutobi. TAM11 of Naruto knocks forward. Konan Itsuko and Kaguya Itsuki will have Yugao Yuzuki. Iruka continues and finishes the teams. Your sensei should arrive soon, he adds, before excusing himself. The various genin graduates murmur among themselves as some were not happy with their teams, as the sisters' fanboys were not on a team with said sisters. Kiba was not happy either, as he wasn't on a team with Hinata, but on one with Sasuke and his girlfriend. Of course he put his daughters on one team, Naruto thought. The door slides open and a few nondescript jonin come in to get their teams. Another 10 minutes pass, and Roki arrives to pick up the 3 princesses. Asuka-sama, Azula-sama, Hinata-sama. If you will follow me, Roki says, shooting a pointed look towards Naruto. The 3 princesses walk down the steps, and the sisters don't even spare Naruto one last glance as they leave. Do you know him? Konan asks, but Naruto shakes his head. Never saw him, Naruto says. TAM11 Yugao says, wearing the standard jonin uniform, but having a short-sleeved shirt and Anbu forearm guards with elbow-length black gloves. Naruto and company walk down the steps with a few waves to the others, following Yugao the classroom and out of the academy. Usually there is a test to see graduates are ready to become genin, but given you have trained outside of Konoha, I will not test you, but I do wish to know your skill sets, Yugao says. That's fine, Naruto says. Yugao leads them to Training Ground 4-3, which is near Training Ground 4-4 in one of her friend's playground. The training ground is lightly forested with a small lake, and all 3 could see a tall fence in the distance. What do you wish to see, Sensei? Naruto asks. What you feel comfortable with, Yugao says, but her brown eyes widen as Naruto brings out Vortex Pain. This will probably shock him, but that's fine, Naruto says, driving the sword into the ground and glances to Konan with a nod. Konan focuses as paper starts to tear from her body as Yugao studies her form. Naruto, and I call it Kamaten, Konan says, creating a few shuriken or paper butterflies. I see, Yugao says, glancing to Kaguya. I am a long-range fighter, but I can defend myself pretty well, Kaguya says. What about your eyes, Yugao says, remembering what the Hokage and Hiashi Hyuga spoke about. I am not sure. Mother told me that my father was a Hyuga. He assaulted her, but I don't know his name or what he looks like, Kaguya explains. I see. I will speak to Hokage about things. We'll meet tomorrow at the mission hall at 8 AM, Yugao says, and the 3 nod, as she vanishes with a swirl of leaves. I wonder how long before the Hyuga will attempt something, Naruto muses, dispelling Vortex Pain. But I'm not a threat to them, Kaguya says. True, but to them. You may be a Hyuga outside of their control, Naruto says, as they make their way back to Kaharu's place. I'm sure your father may have told them about Lord Ieyasu's letter, Konan says. Probably, but Hyuga could still try something, Naruto says. Meanwhile, Yugao is standing in front of Minato and explaining what she has just seen. He manifested a sword from thin air, he says. Yes, Hikage-sama. It appeared as crystalline dust. Konan has a strange Kekkei Genkai to turn parts of her body into paper, and Kaguya. Well, I don't believe her eyes are capable of the Byakugan, Yugao explains. Hiashi will want the girl tested, but if she is capable of it, she will need to be branded. However, Hiashi will have to accept that she can by order of the royal family, Minato thought, and clears his throat. Luna once told me that those who have the blood of kings are capable of an ability called armatures for Konan. I wonder if she can be convinced to settle in Konoha and pass her Kekkei Genkai on, he says, and looks Yugao in her eyes. You wouldn't have to treat them to drink missions. If he's trained enough outside of Konoha, he can handle crank missions and above. Also, your team can work with the other teams, but TAM7, Minato adds, and Yugao bows, before vanishing in a swirl of leaves. So the kid's back, Jiraiya says, stepping through the window. How much did you hear? Minato says. Pretty much all of it. He thinks he's untouchable too, Jiraiya says. He is. Naruto is the prince's harbinger, and any slight against him is a slight against Prince Ieyasu, Minato says. That's why you don't want him working with the twins team, Jiraiya says, and Minato nods. I don't want their careers ruined because of Naruto, Minato says. O Akito I Grav Macron. Naruto stares at the sunset in the same park where Ravis found him with a small book in his hand called Loveless. He left Konan and Kaguya at Kaharu's place to relax as he did a little more wandering. Infinite in mystery is the gift of the goddess, we seek it thus and take to the skies. Ripples form on the water's surface. The wandering soul knows no rest. Naruto muses, but hears footsteps and sees Mizuki approaching. Mizuki-sensei. I hope you aren't too upset about what I did, Naruto says, closing his book. Mizuki gives Naruto a fake smile as he approaches. Oh no. You're quite skilled, Mizuki says. Thank you for your kind words, but why are really here, Naruto says, and Mizuki narrows his eyes, as the blonde places his book on the bench and rises to his feet. Is it to apologize for giving me weighted weapons? Or for using Chunin speed against a student, or even your sinful gazes on Kaguya, Naruto says. Mizuki drops all pretenses with an angry look on his face. You go beyond your station, bastard, he says, and Naruto chuckles. Ah yes. The old adage and another of my sister's foolish sycophants, Naruto says, a thin smile on his face. Don't speak ill of Lady Azula or Lady Asuka, Mizuki says. Naruto slips his hands in his pockets with a tilt of his head. Why not? I bet they've spoken ill of me. Oh, but I'm a bastard. So it's allowed, he says. I'll put you in your place and bring you to my master, Mizuki says, fishing out a small bottle from his pocket. Your master? Surely you mean the Hokage, Naruto says. Mizuki pops the cork from the bottle with a smirk. The Hokage doesn't compare to my master, he sneers, drinking down the concoction in the bottle. Music Orochimaru fight theme, Naruto os. Mizuki drops the bottle and crushes it under his sandal. As Naruto narrows his eyes, something's awful, Doris says. Mizuki grits his teeth as his muscles flex on his shirt and vest to rip them open. Yes. Yes, I can feel the power flowing through me, he says, before rushing Naruto with a flurry of punches, but the blonde dodges and moves them further into the park. What's wrong, bastard? Too afraid to move now, Mizuki shouts, seeing Naruto's hands still in his pockets, but the blonde slowly removes his left. However, now Mizuki is seeing stars and falls to his knees as Naruto slips his hand back in his pocket. There I move, Naruto says. Mizuki spits some spittle with fury in his eyes, as more of the concoction courses through his body, as Naruto pulls his hands out his pockets. I will kill you, bastard, and lay your corpse at Lady Azula or Lady Asuka's feet. Your head will go to my master, Mizuki shouts, springing to his feet, but Naruto halts him with a knee feint. Naruto turns this into a leaping Guyver kick, but kicks Mizuki with his right leg instead of his left, staggering the instructor back as Naruto lands, and kips up to connect with the rising knee just as quickly. Curse you, bastard, Mizuki shouts, clutching his now broken nose. He calls on more of his chakra as tiger-like markings form on his arms, chest and face. I'm amazed Konoha's Anbu haven't stormed him, Doris says. They're watching. Minato wants to see some of my skills before our first mission, Naruto thought. Mizuki vanishes and attempts a Nifage chop, but Naruto ducks under as Mizuki, then tries to bring it down, forcing Naruto to his right and back to a vertical base. Mizuki starts to growl akin to a tiger as his skin gains orange and white fur, his nails become claws, and his face more cat-like. Time for you die, bastard, Mizuki shouts. He blitzes with a leap and downward punch, but Naruto dodges as Mizuki spiderwebs the ground. Do you see now, bastard? This is the true power of my master, Mizuki shouts. Naruto holds out his hands with a sigh. You may be stronger, he starts, dodging Mizuki's next attack, and then the second, third, fourth and fifth. But it is useless without speed, Naruto says, and uses armature to bring a pair of Valen pistols. Now. I'll further hamper you, he says. Mizuki rushes towards Naruto but screams in pain as 2 holes open in his thighs, 2 into his shoulder and 2 into his arms. 1 for each, bastard, Naruto says, as Mizuki crashes to the ground in pain. The blonde then points one of the valiants at Mizuki's skull. 7 for good measure, Naruto says, but Anbu surround him. You done enough, Naruto knocks floor at Nico says. Naruto sighs and dispels the pistols and runs his fingers through his hair. Well, he's all yours, he says, turning on his heels and placing his hands behind his head. Nico watches Naruto leave, but turns her attention, and her eyes whiten behind her mask, as Mizuki starts to shrink at an alarming rate. The Anbu would barely get Mizuki to the hospital from a ninja to help, and they would barely save him, but his days as a ninja were over. However, his mind would yield several secrets. Song ends. U umlaut o akudo umlaut I grov macron. The next day TAM11 were taking their first mission as Konoha Genin, and that mission happens to be within the village or training GROUND 44, also called the Forest of Death. Their mission is the extermination of a nest of spiders for the upcoming Chunin exams in 6 months' time. Minato explained the spiders were up the size of full-grown tigers and poisonous. Also, someone would meet them at the gates to lead them to the nest. The person we're meeting is a good friend of mine, but a little eccentric, Yugao says, as they rush across the roofs towards the Forest of Death. We're an eccentric bunch too. You should ask Naruto about the land of honey, Kaguya says, and the blonde shoots her a look, something Yugao catches with an arched eyebrow. You will have to tell me about it, Yugao says, as they reach the main gate of the forest having numerous warning signs on the fence. Naruto and company see a woman waiting for them with a stick of dango in her mouth, but numerous other sticks in the ground. So this your team, Yugao, and one happens to be the Hokage's missing son, the woman says. She has light brown, pupilless eyes with violet hair styled in a short, spiky, fanted-out ponytail. Meet Anko Mitarashi. Takubetsu Jonin Yugao says, and Anko waves with a cheeky smile. She wears a fitted mesh bodysuit that covers her from her neck to her thighs, a tan trench coat with a purple inseam and a pocket on each side, a dark orange miniskirt, a dark blue belt, and pale gray shin guards. I'm Naruto knocks Flirt, and they are Konan Itsuko and Kaguya Itsuki, Naruto says, and Anko arches an eyebrow, but spits out her dango stick. Okay. Now follow me and I'll show you where the nest is, Anko says, and they follow her over the fence, into the forest, and Naruto notices the trees are thick enough to make the forest seem darker. Alright Gakus. It's time for a lesson about the Forest of Death. It is 44 locked gates. A river running through the length and the center tower. Which is 10 kilometers away, Anko says. Also dangerous animals, Yugao says. How dangerous, Kaguya says, and Anko looks back with a wide grin. The man-eating kind, Anko says, and Naruto touches his chest softly, as Yugao clears her throat. The three of you will handle the spiders, and I will observe, Yugao says, and the three slowly nod, as the group travels for about 25 minutes. The nest is up ahead. Have fun, Gakus, Anko says, as she and Yugao stop on a large branch. Naruto brings out Vortex Abandon as Kaguya brings out her staff, and Konan creates a spear of paper. Now's he brought a bow, Yugao says. He didn't make any hand signs either, Anko says, and her eyes widen as Naruto fires arrows of wind. He's a wind user, she adds. Add lightning and water as well to create the storm release, Yugao says, as Kaguya fires a few fireballs. I'd forgotten he's the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, Anko says, seeing Naruto send his bow away and bringing out another sword, creating slices of wind. Konan impresses the former student of Orochimaru as she creates bombs from the paper. They're pretty good for genin, Anko says. They're really genin in name only, Yugao says, as Kaguya crashes into a spider and shows off the strength of her legs with a small crater under them. Naruto brings out more swords, spears, polyaxes and even a shield as he and his girls tear through the spiders. He then weaves signs and creates a tiger of lightning to race down into the nest, killing any spiders that remained. Not bad, Gakus, Anko says, as she and Yugao drop down. A job well done on your first mission, Yugao says. Look at the carnage of spider corpses. What do we do now, Sensei, Kaguya says. We'll inform the Hokage of the mission's success and take another, Yugao says. What about the corpses, Konan asks. The other animals will deal, Anko says, but suddenly clutches her collarbone in pain. Damn it. Right now, she hisses. What's wrong, Kaguya says, as Yugao checks on Anko. My bastard of Sensei left a nasty hickey, Anko says, moving her coat and pulling on her mesh suit to show a mark on her collarbone in the shape of 3 commas. This is the work of Orochimaru. He gave her this curse mark and left her to die, Yugao says. Has no one tried to remove it, Konan says. His old man and his perverted sensei have tried, but they both say they can't, Anko says, slipping her coat back on right. Maybe we can help, Naruto says, causing both women to look at the blonde in confusion. You both know my mother was the oracle healer. I learned a little of her magic, Kaguya, if you please, Naruto says. Kaguya slams her staff, and some vines emerge from the ground to hold Anko in place. We don't want you to fall, she says, and overlaps her hand with Naruto's left hand. Ready, Naruto says, and Kaguya nods. Large curse cure, both say in unison as their hands glow a green and purple. Anko's body seizes and she stifles a scream as her body glows the same as their hands, but soon relaxes, as dark purple smoke rises from where her curse mark was. At the same time, in the land of sound, Orochimaru screams in pain as a piece of his soul is destroyed. Kaguya releases Anko from the vines, and the snake mistress staggers a little but catches herself, but quickly checks her collarbone to find some burned skin. I'm free, Anko whispers, turning to Naruto and Kaguya. She suddenly grabs Naruto by the head, and smashes her lips onto his to the shock of Konan, Kaguya and Yugao. Naruto's cheeks were red, and he accidentally parts his lips to allow her tongue into his mouth. Way to go, Eldora shouts, as Anko pulls back. That was grown-up kiss, Gaki. We may do the rest another time, Anko says and licks her lips with a look to Kaguya. Same for you, bunny girl, Anko adds, vanishing with a leaf shunshin. Naruto stands motionless with a red face as Kaguya and Konan stare at him. Shadows covered their faces with 2 orbs for eyes, but Yugao clears her throat to garner their attention. Anko didn't mean that, but thank you for helping her, Yugao says, snapping Naruto out of his stupor. Right, Naruto says. Why would Orochimaru brand her with such a curse, Kaguya asks, patting Naruto on the shoulder to mean they would talk about this later. The 4 take to the trees as Yugao explains. Orochimaru is an evil man and conducted evil experiments. Among people, and the curse mark is a result of that, she explains. If he has done such, how did he escape from here, Konan asks, and Yugao frowns. The Sandaime hesitated with Orochimaru as he was one of his students, and that hesitation allowed him to escape, Yugao says, as they fall into silence, and like before it takes nearly a half hour to reach the gates. Naruto, I would like to test your skills in Kenjutsu. Your showing in the forest has caught my interest, Yugao says. Thank you, sensei. Uncle Ravis and Lady Asakura taught me, Naruto says, as they reach the village proper and take to the roofs. I see. Also, I'll have to inform the Hokage about Anko, Yugao adds, and Naruto slowly nods. That's fine. He probably knows I may have learned magic in Niflheim. So it would be no big secret, Naruto replies, and Yugao nods, as they soon reach the Hokage tower, and make their way inside towards the mission hall. since things have happened concerning Anko. We'll meet tomorrow at 9 at Training Ground 43, but you can take a drank mission if you wish, Yugao says, and the three nod as she dismisses them. Naruto decides to see what the dranks have to offer, but could feel a pair of eyes on him. She kissed me, you know, he says. We know, but Kushina will not be happy, Konan says, and Naruto pales a little as they enter the mission hall. The Sandame is sitting at the desk with the Ruka, and he sees the three entering. Hello TAM11. Where's your sensei? Hears and says. She needed to talk the Hokage, but she said we could take a drank if we wish, Naruto says. I see. Well, you can look at the board to my right, hears and says. Naruto and company moved towards the board to look over the dranks, but they were mundane at best. The missions were things civilians could do for themselves, like babysitting, painting fences, walking their dogs, buying their groceries, or even planting fields. How about this one, Kaguya says, pointing to one the board, and it was to clean up a house to be sold. I wonder if the house is already sold, Konan says. Naruto pulls the paper off the board and makes his way back to the table. We'll take this one, he says, allowing Aruka to log it in. TAM11 make their way out of the mission hall and towards the southeast of the village, away from the village proper. If the house still on the market, will we get it, Kaguya asks. Maybe. I doubt Granny Kaharu wants us to stay too long, Naruto muses. The neighborhood is rows of houses or close to compounds for clans. Is it really plausible to buy a house? Especially if we don't remain here, Kaguya says. We'll see if the owner is willing to lease, Naruto says, finding the house in question, and has a similar fence to Kaharu's house. It is also twistories, but with a smaller porch and large bay windows to the left of the porch. The front lawn is small as well, but has a tree. The gate is open and a for sale sign is on it as the three enter, while a man is stepping out with a nondescript build. Are you the Genin team, I ask, for the man asks, and the three nod. I'm Zero, follow me, and I'll show you where you can start, he adds. Why are you selling the home, Kaguya asks, as they follow Zero through the front door. The house has a small area for shoes, and has a hall to the back of the house with stairs leading to the second floor. I'm moving across the village to a larger home, Zero says. Are you willing to lease the home for the right price, Naruto asks, as Zero leads them upstairs. I would be. Though I doubt Genin would have the money to do so, Zero says. The upstairs has 3 bedrooms, one of which is the master bedroom having a full bathroom. Another bathroom is the second floor as well, with a study looking at the backyard, having a large tree, and a back deck also having a grill. What would you willing to lease for, Naruto asks, as Zero shows them the boxes that need to be brought downstairs and into the yard for movers to get. 2,000 a month, which includes water and electric. Upkeep would be on the leaser, Zero says. The three look between each other and start to move things downstairs. That doesn't sound too bad, Konan says, carrying 2 boxes with Kaguya behind her. 3 bedrooms. We have our own room, Kaguya says. If the others comes, we can share a room or we can get a pull-out couch, Konan says, placing her boxes down, and Kaguya does the same. A few Naruto clones come out with large boxes, and the sofa. The Oyaban is talking to the owner about possibly renting one, says, placing a large box down. He's also trying to talk him down a little as well, another says, as they place the couch down. Kaguya and Konan head back into the house to the upstairs to grab more boxes, but once they come down, a woman is coming. She has long black hair and blue eyes with a visible baby bump under her dress. Are you the team Zero hired, she asks, and both nod. Thank you for helping us. My name is Yorika, she adds, as Konan and Kaguya introduce themselves. Your husband said you were moving, Kaguya says. Yes. We'll be closer to the hospital, Yorika says, following them upstairs. Our third teammate is speaking to Zero about possibly renting the home, Konan says, and Yorika stares in shock. You're also young, Yorika says. We're experienced. We've rented a few places in our travels, Kaguya says, and Yorika whispers, oh my goodness. The Kunoichi pair of TAM11 and Naruto clones follow Yorika's instructions on what to bring out. Soon the real Naruto joins them, and gives some good news about Zero agreeing to rent to them. Zero would have a contract written up for them by the end of the week, and they would pay 1,800 a month, but would have to put down 4,000 as a down payment to have a year lease. Thanks to Naruto's clone, the team finished in about 2 hours to Zero and Yorika's praise, thanking the three profusely for aiding them. So we got our own place, Konan says, as Naruto sends a clone to hand in the mission report. It's pretty much a done deal, Naruto says. The three would head back to Kaharu's place to give her the news, and by the end of the week, they would have their own place to live. Thanks for watching my video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and comment below your favorite part. Don't forget to support The Adventures of the Vortex Hunter by Chambliss, and his story link in the description.